Chapter 884. The Empress of Heaven's origin is very profound. If I thoroughly study the substance within it, I can even create it. Gu Chernsha had already advanced to the heavenly longevity realm, and his ability to use the dragonless mantra had greatly increased. When he helped Lu Baiwei refine the Empress of Heaven's origin, he began to analyze its properties. Logically speaking, after analyzing it, he could use the power of the sacrifices of all living beings to refine the substance of the Empress of Heaven's origin. The origins of the Empress of Heaven, the Lord of the Sun and Moon, couldn't be extracted from primordial chaos elemental energy. But they could be extracted from the sacrifices of all living beings. Within the heart of all living beings, he could extract substances that surpassed the heavenly Tao. Not only that, if Gu Chensha's cultivation reached a certain limit, he could create an existence similar to the Emperor of Heaven. Of course, the prerequisite was that Gu Chernsha had truly obtained the peerless and limitless throne. He activated Regal Propria's medallion and wrapped it around the Empress of Heaven's origin. Gradually, he began to understand the characteristics of the Empress of Heaven's origin. The countless mantras in his body wriggled once more. After absorbing this knowledge, his cultivation grew even more profound. Somehow, he had truly obtained some sort of heavenly Tao, the level at which he could truly contend with Gu Taxian. In time, he would definitely be able to participate in a battle of this level. To him, the heavens weren't high and the earth wasn't thick. Gradually, the Empress of Heaven's origin began to wail. It simply couldn't withstand the suppression of Regal Propria's medallion, the dragonless mantra, and the Heavenly Mother formation. The Empress of Heaven's origin was extremely stubborn. Even though Gu Chernsha tried his best to suppress it and refine it time and time again, the origin still contained an extremely powerful vitality, like an undying king. The Empress of Heaven's origin is really stubborn. We've used so much power, but it's still stubborn and stinky. Lu Baiwei frowned. She had already pushed the Heavenly Mother formation to a certain limit, but she still couldn't do anything about the Empress of Heaven's origin. Moreover, she knew that she had already angered the Empress of Heaven's origin. If she gave up on refining it, the origin would instead suck her dry. Not only would it not provide her with any power, it would immediately leave, and she would die. In other words, she had to succeed in refining the Empress of Heaven's origin. Otherwise, she would die. The Empress of Heaven's source is second only to the Celestial Emperor, far surpassing the Celestial Kings. As long as the Celestial Emperor doesn't appear, the Empress of Heaven can control the heavenly court and command the myriad realms. If it was so easy to refine, then the Empress of Heaven's source wouldn't be so mysterious. The more difficult it is, the stronger the Empress of Origin, the greater the origin, and the origin would be. As he spoke, Gu Chensha's dragonless mental technique expanded again. Heaven's imperfection, the heart of all beings, incomplete, faceless. Gu Chernsha comprehended one of the highest secrets of the dragonless mental technique. He suddenly moved, and countless bubbles appeared above his head. The largest bubble was the heaven realm, and the others were other worlds. He had created all things and then created chaos. Rumble. With Gu Chensha's display of power, the Empress of Heaven's origin wailed again. At that moment, the Empress of Heaven's origin seemed to be unable to make waves in front of Gu Chernsha. Other than the Emperor of Heaven, Gu Chernsha didn't care about anything else. Amidst the wailing, the Empress of Heaven's origin tried its best to shrink. In the end, it shrank into a bead. As the bead shone brightly, it kept spinning, twisting, changing, and squirming. Finally, it began its true counterattack. Rumble. Within the bead, countless bolts of lightning were released. In an instant, they filled the entire space. They started exploding from within, trying to blast Lu Baiwei into pieces. The counterattack of the Empress of Heaven's origin? But it's like an arrow at the end of its flight. It's useless. Gu Chensha's hands shot out an even more intense light from the dragonless mental technique. Then, the sacrificial power in the dragonless gourd surged wildly, and human figures appeared. These human figures were the living beings of the great Yonko court. With the sacrifice of the living beings, their karma had a close relationship with the dragonless gourd. Gu Qinsha used the will of all beings to suppress the Empress of Heaven's origin one last time. Countless people, countless lights, and countless thoughts converged into a torrent of thoughts that flowed into the Empress of Heaven's origin. In the blink of an eye, the bead formed by the Empress of Heaven's origin was tainted with the thoughts and thoughts of countless people. Like a pearl covered in dust, it began to degenerate and lose all of its light. All living beings can make you a paragon, but they can also drag you down to the mortal world. I can extract substances from the sacrifices of all living beings that are beneficial to my cultivation. I can extract poisons from the hearts of all living beings that can destroy the heavenly Taos and pollute them. Nothing is more poisonous than the human heart. The torrent of thoughts in Gu Qinsha's mind was a grayish-black color. It was thousands of times thicker than the most poisonous devil energy in the realm of demons. It was the greed, anger, and delusion of the human heart, as well as all sorts of mental poisons. After being extracted, no living being could taint them. If they did, they would fall into the mortal world, unable to roam free and unfettered. That was one of the trump cards Gu Qinsha had in mind when dealing with the Emperor of Heaven. Gu Qinsha's dragonless mental technique allowed him to extract substances from the sacrifices of all living beings that could allow him to surpass the heavenly Taos. He could also extract poisons that could cause the heavenly Taos to collapse. The human heart was the most poisonous, and it could corrode the heavenly Taos. The human heart was the most difficult to predict. Whoever controlled the human heart could control all sorts of transformations. The Empress of Heaven's origin had never expected that Gu Qinsha would have such a trick up his sleeve. After being injected with the poison extracted from the heart of all beings, the origin began to crumble and disintegrate. It was truly being refined. All of a sudden, a jade-white hand appeared. This hand was truly flawless, without any flaws or openings. It also contained the supreme, commanding all worlds, all space-time, eternally free, indestructible by myriad tribulations, and eternally indestructible. The Emperor of Heaven still made a move? I knew the Empress of Heaven's origin wouldn't give up so easily. Gu Qinsha's jade-white hand clawed at the air, and countless numbers of data appeared in his eyes. In the blink of an eye, he had analyzed them billions and trillions of times over. He was analyzing the Emperor of Heaven's current strength, his current location, his current state, his current cultivation level, and his current plans and conspiracies. With Gu Qinsha's current powers of divination, he only needed a tiny bit of information to be able to calculate everything. He had already reached the celestial longevity stage, a stage where he could live as long as heaven and earth. With his power and the poison extracted from the hearts of the people of the divine continent, he could pose a threat to the Emperor of Heaven's origin. The Emperor of Heaven's cultivation base definitely hadn't reached its peak yet. Legend had it that only when the Emperor of Heaven sat on the Emperor of Heaven's throne would his power reach its peak. And in order to open the door to the celestial realm and sit on the Emperor of Heaven's throne, one had to gather the endless 36 treasures. And more than half of the endless 36 treasures had fallen into Gu Qinsha's hands. If the Emperor of Heaven didn't take away these treasures, there was no way he could sit on the Emperor of Heaven's throne, and his power wouldn't reach its peak. It could be said that Gu Qinsha had the Emperor of Heaven's lifeline in his hands. The poison of the human heart has tainted the Emperor of Heaven. Gu Qinsha's jade-white hand moved slightly, and the Empress of Heaven's origin within Lu Baiyue's body was injected with a strange power. It suddenly went out of control, carrying Lu Baiyue toward the jade-white hand. The viciousness of the jade-white hand was obvious. It actually wanted to take Lu Baiyue along with the Empress of Heaven's origin. Gu Qinsha hastily made a feint. Suddenly, the poison extracted from the human heart in the dragonless gourd transformed once again, turning into countless squirming little dragons. These little dragons were poisonous dragons, and their bodies were like tarsal bones. They drilled into the jade-white palm. The jade-white palm suddenly emitted a bright light, and actually blocked the little poisonous dragons from burrowing into it. It continued to grab Lu Baiwe. "Emperor of Heaven," said Gu Chensha, "these poisonous dragons of mine are the greed, anger, and obsession of the human heart. They contain all sorts of ambitions and desires. Nobody can stand up to them. The Tao of Heaven fears all living things, because it fears that their hearts will swell up and they'll want to destroy the Tao of Heaven. That desire will set the prairie on fire, and it will go out of control. You might be strong, but if you think you can turn the tables on me with just one hand, that's a joke." The greed, anger, and obsession was so powerful that it surpassed all living things, transforming into an enormous poisonous dragon that consumed primal chaos, the heavens, the myriad worlds, the tribulations, the past, the present, and the future. It also consumed the greed, anger, and obsession of all living things. The countless venomous dragons converged into one and swallowed the jade-white palm. To think that there was only one of them! It devoured the jade-white palm, intending to digest the essence of the heavenly emperor. The jade-white hand was the work of the Emperor of Heaven, without question. If it weren't for the fact that he was the Emperor of Heaven, Gu Chensha would have crushed them all with the flip of a hand. It wasn't that Gu Chensha didn't want to destroy the Lord of the Sun and the Moon Gu Tiansha, the Crown Prince Gu Xiansha, and the system of the One God. He wanted to fatten them up, and use them to keep the Emperor of Heaven in check. Gu Chensha had already planted the system of the One God into a dragonless mental magic. As his senses grew stronger, the system would eventually fall into Gu Chensha's hands, and become a part of his dragonless mental magic. Gu Chensha, you definitely live up to your reputation as the person who controls the future, the greatest of all tribulations. I descended into the world for the sake of order, and you are the one who will prevent that order from being born. Only by suppressing your tribulation will I be able to gain immense karma, advance the Tao of Heaven, and gain even greater accomplishments. A magnetic voice echoed out from the jade-white hand. The voice seemed to contain an infinite amount of magical power, which could subdue people's hearts. At that moment, the poisonous dragons of greed, anger, and obsession in Gu Chensha's mind had already devoured the jade-white hand. However, as the voice moved, the jade-white hand released waves of celestial music, which dispelled the greed, anger, and obsession. It stabilized people's hearts and removed all distracting thoughts. The Tao of Heaven knows that people's hearts are unpredictable. Since ancient times, it has been researching how to make people's hearts give birth to existences that are beneficial to the Tao of Heaven, and not to give birth to poisonous thoughts such as greed, anger, and obsession. Now it has achieved great results. The voice from the jade-white hand said, "Go away. Amazing but voluptuous body." WeChat Public. Mainmeng 22, long press for 3 seconds to copy. You know it, I know it too. Chapter 885. The Emperor of Heaven had not revealed his true form. It was just a palm, and his voice was very unique. Anyone who heard it would think that it was the voice of the Master of Heaven and Earth. It lacked the majesty of an emperor, and yet, it made people willing to serve him as their master. This was one of the mysteries of the Emperor of Heaven's essence. The Emperor of Heaven was the manifestation of the heavenly Tao. The heavenly Tao had no physical form, but it ruled over all living things. However, this formless existence could not inspire awe and reverence in all living things. That was why the Emperor of Heaven had appeared, presiding over the highest void, giving all living things a concrete image of him. That was the only way for all living things to worship, revere, and offer sacrifices to. Therefore, the appearance of the heavenly court in the future was inevitable for the heavenly Tao. From the appearance of the Emperor of Heaven, Gu Chunxia had already seen a flaw in the heavenly Tao. If the heavenly Tao was truly omnipotent and in control of all things, then it would have never been able to give birth to the Emperor of Heaven, nor would it have needed to give birth to an Emperor of Heaven to inspire awe and worship. In other words, the heavenly Tao required all living things to offer sacrifices to it. Now that Gu Chunxia had taken control of the central plains and had all living things offer sacrifices to the imperial court, he was seizing the authority of the heavenly Tao and weakening the power of the Emperor of Heaven. I'd like to see if this single hand of the Emperor of Heaven can truly break my dragonless heart sutra. When Gu Chunxia heard the Emperor of Heaven's order to retreat, the poison dragon formed from the poison extracted from the human heart began to truly retreat. After dispersing, it once again transformed into the power of sacrifice. Good! Gu Chunxia was not alarmed by this. Instead, he was delighted. It seems that the heavenly Tao's understanding of the human heart's sacrifice has far surpassed mine. It can actually restore the poison extracted from the human heart. This is the true heavenly Tao. He was delighted because he had been able to peer into the secrets of the heavenly Tao during his fight with the Emperor of Heaven, which had deepened his understanding of the human heart and allowed his Dragonless Heart Sutra to advance further. At his level, it was hard to find an opponent. In the whole world, only the Emperor Heaven was worth fighting. During the battle with the Emperor of Heaven, Gu Chunxia gradually understood the supernatural powers and transformations that he had never understood before. Because of this, he even hoped that the Emperor of Heaven wouldn't die and fight with him forever. Only then would it be interesting. Otherwise, being invincible would be a kind of loneliness. The hearts of the people are united and the world changes. Gu Chenchia's body moved once again, the dragonless mantra spun, gathering the power of the sacrificial ritual once again, turning it into a dragonless dragon. The supreme dragon, the mysterious dragon of the void, the dragon of heaven and earth, the dragon of the boundless sun and moon. Wulong was Gu Chenchia's real trump card. When he attacked, this dragonless dragon was many times stronger than the poisonous dragon from before. As the dragonless dragon coiled around, it actually shook the white jade palm formed by the Emperor of Heaven and sent it flying. Good, worthy of being Gu Taxin's son, and his most outstanding one. Even Gu Tianxia can't compare to you. What a miracle! From the white jade palm formed by the Emperor of Heaven came a voice of admiration. Gu Tianxia is a variable that no one expected. I originally thought that he was my opponent and you were just a flash in the pan. I didn't expect that you would actually surpass him. However, Gu Taxian will soon be devoured by the heavenly Tao, which is also my main body. And you will also fall into the endless abyss, unable to continue. While speaking, the white jade palm fiercely expanded, capturing the dragonless dragon formed by the power of the sacrificial ritual. Emperor of Heaven, capturing dragon. The huge palm captured the dragonless dragon. The dragonless dragon tightly coiled around the palm of the Emperor of Heaven, wanting to completely crush it. Both sides were in a deadlock. Kill! At this time, a fierce expression appeared on Lu Baiyue's face. She let out a long roar that shook heaven and earth. The golden plate, like regal presence, in her body suddenly split open and merged with the Empress of Heaven's source. The Empress of Heaven's source completely shattered and merged with the golden plate, becoming something that wasn't the Empress of Heaven's source, but something that surpassed it. The golden plate, like regal presence, transformed the Empress of Heaven's source, causing it to evolve. The Empress of Heaven's source was no longer the original thing. The moment it evolved, the Empress of Heaven's source lost all connection with the Emperor of Heaven and the heavenly Tao, perfectly becoming Lu Baiyue's source. However, the golden plate, like regal presence, completed its final mission. After merging with the Empress of Heaven's source, it completely disappeared, the two becoming one. Lu Baiyue's aura rose steadily. She seemed to have become the Empress of Heaven who ruled over the myriad worlds, but also an existence that surpassed the Empress of heaven and earth, the ancestor of all things, the beginning of the absolute beginning. At this time, she already had the qualifications to fight with the Emperor of Heaven. Capture. Lu Baiyue's hands shot out endless divine abilities, which converged into a river of divine abilities. This river of divine abilities contained trillions of divine abilities, like the eternal sands. They flowed unceasingly, containing the endless secrets of time, eternity, and the end. The river of divine abilities washed over the Emperor of Heaven's jade-white palm, joining hands with Gu Chencha's dragonless dragon. The jade-white palm formed by the Emperor of Heaven was pushed back bit by bit. However, even as he was forced to retreat, the celestial Thearcha's palm still maintained a graceful and elegant appearance. All of a sudden, the jade-white palm of the Emperor of Heaven waved its hand, and a powerful force appeared to block Gu Chunxia and Lu Baiyue's attacks. Gu Taxian's medallion contains the Empress of Heaven's source. Not bad. Not bad at all. The Empress of Heaven is gone, and her source is gone. That means I've lost my greatest help. However, you've also used up all of Gu Taxian's legacy. Henceforth, he won't be able to help you. I'll tell you the truth. The Tao of Heaven is going all out to bind up Gu Taxian's source, and will soon strip him of some of his aura. When that happens, I'll be even stronger. Gu Chunxia, I hope that when the time comes, your dragonless heart magic will reach the consummate level. Don't disappoint me. Then, the white jade palm formed by the celestial Tharch disappeared into thin air. A single palm was all it took to escape unscathed. Is this the power of the Emperor of Heaven? Even a palm contains the deepest level of immortality. I actually feel like I can't do anything about it. Gu Chunxia frowned. He was clearly very afraid of it. Chunxia, she said, I've finally refined the Empress of Heaven's source, and advanced even further. Lu Baiyue sensed the power in her body, and felt as if her psychic power could fill the entire celestial world, even the chaotic flows of space-time, and even the endless depths of primordial chaos. Simply put, her psychic power and willpower had expanded without limit. She was now one of the most powerful beings in the world, second only to the Emperor of Heaven and Gu Chunxia. In fact, she was even more powerful than the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Chunxia. This medallion of the Emperor of Heaven has completed its final mission, said Gu Chunxia. Gu Chunxia said, You've also obtained a portion of Imperial Father's power, but I don't think the future is optimistic. When the heavenly Tao retracted its power, Father was also subconsciously suppressed. You can tell from this golden medallion that Father's original power was inconceivable. This golden medallion could completely suppress the Empress of Heaven's essence and still exist. But now that it no longer exists, it means that Father's authority has completely given up on protecting us. Instead, he is wholeheartedly fighting against the will of the heavenly Tao. When the two clash, there will be many different changes. Could it be that His Majesty will fail? Lu Baiyue was shocked. She knew that the medallion had indeed improved her cultivation, but she had also lost the protection of the heavenly talisman Emperor. The halo of the Emperor of Heaven had completely disappeared. In the future, she could only rely on herself. I'm not afraid of Father's failure, I'm afraid of something else. Gu Chunxia had a deeper insight than Lu Baiyue. Even if Lu Baiyue had completely absorbed the Empress of Heaven's source and the power of the medallion, she was still inferior to him. What are you afraid of? Lu Baiyue didn't understand. Actually, we can completely fight against the Emperor of Heaven now. Although today's battle was just a small test, it's clear that the Emperor of Heaven is strong and is a formidable opponent for us, but he's not completely undefeatable. It'll be extremely difficult for him to do anything to us. Moreover, we've already gained the upper hand. We've refined the heavenly monarch of Jin. The Empress of Heaven's source has also been refined, the Punisher monarch is in our hands, and the boundless treasure is also under our control. The Emperor of Heaven is like a mosquito that has fallen into a net. I don't think he'll be able to escape. He can only be slowly nibbled away by us. I think the overall situation is good. If nothing unexpected happens, that's indeed the case. Gu Chensha shook his head. Actually, there are two possibilities. The first is that Father fails in the battle against the heavenly Tao. However, the possibility of this is very small. The second is that Father and the heavenly Tao fail at the same time and collapse at the same time. The situation will be completely out of control. This is what I'm most worried about. If Father and the heavenly Tao fail at the same time, another existence that possesses both Father and the heavenly Tao will be born. That will be truly troublesome. Think about it, this is how Gu Tiansha was born. The conflict between Father and the heavenly Tao gave birth to this uncontrollable factor, causing him to stir up the storm and create so much trouble for us. This is just a small matter of the situation going out of control. If both of them fail at the same time and die together, we won't be able to control the situation at all. That will be the true era of the great calamity. You're looking further than me. When Lu Baiwe heard this, she pondered it for a long time. Indeed, this is the most likely outcome. There have been many such examples in history. Originally, several countries were fighting for hegemony, but no one expected that in the end, an unexpected figure would steal the world. Several thousand years ago, 3 countries were fighting for hegemony in the Central Plains, but in the end, the world actually belonged to a minor figure. I have to say, this is a funny thing, but that's the reality. Right now, we're fighting against the Emperor of Heaven, but who knows if another figure might suppress us in the future. There is indeed such a possibility that the heavenly Tao and Father perish together. Gu Chensha said, "Today, when I fought with the Emperor of Heaven, I felt that while the Emperor of Heaven's strength is boundlessly tyrannical, he doesn't have the power to kill me. However, I feel even more uneasy in the depths of my heart." Perfect Anti-Theft Chapter. Please search engine. Chapter 886. Yes, we couldn't see the realms of the heavenly axiom and His Majesty clearly. We always felt that they were high above and untouchable. But now that I've seen their realms, I also have the hope of reaching that level. But the more it is like this, the more I feel that the situation is indeed in a state of loss of control. Lu Baiwe nodded. After refining the mysterious power of the Empress of Heaven's origin and the regal proprieties' golden medallion, her cultivation had increased greatly. She was only second to the Emperor of Heaven and Gu Chensha, so she knew many things. Actually, our current strength has completely surpassed the Emperor of Heaven. In the battle with the Emperor of Heaven just now, I more or less understood some of his abilities. He may be a little stronger than me, but he doesn't have an overwhelming advantage over me. And my advantage over him is that I control the sacrifices of the people of China, from which I can extract endless power that surpasses the heavenly axiom to replenish myself. Of course, he is also waiting for the moment when the situation in China is out of control and we can't control the hearts of the people of the world. Now he may have already infiltrated the imperial court and disintegrated us from the inside. Gu Chensha once again recalled the various details of his battle with the Emperor of Heaven just now. As he carefully pondered and calculated, he benefited a lot. He felt that his cultivation had increased to a higher level and reached some mysterious realm. By the way, in your calculations, who is the Emperor of Heaven, or what identity did he use to infiltrate our imperial court? Lu Baiwe asked. With her current cultivation, she was still a little bit away from being able to calculate the secrets of the Emperor of Heaven. I already have some clues, but I can't say it out loud. I even have to hide my thoughts. Otherwise, the person who is hiding the identity of the Emperor of Heaven will sense it when I have a thought. At that time, it would be very unwise to act rashly and alert the enemy. Gu Chensha waved his hand. Moreover, even if we have confirmed the hidden identity of the Emperor of Heaven, we can't arrest him. Instead, we will make him desperate and cause turmoil in the world. What we need to do now is naturally to guard against him, using him to strengthen our nation's destiny. Apart from that, we also need to guard against the immeasurable changes that will occur when Father and the heavenly Tao collapse at the same time. After exchanging blows with the Emperor of Heaven, Gu Chencha's horizons were once again broadened by a lot. Of course, he had also absorbed a lot of knowledge from Regal Propria's golden plate and Gu Taxian's true will, as well as his experience in fighting against the heavenly Tao. The experience of fighting against the heavenly Tao in Regal Propria's medallion was much more than that of the God system. After all, the warships and systems of the prehistoric civilization were nothing more than failures, completely destroyed in the battle against the heavenly axiom. Now, however, Gu Taxian had not failed and had even suppressed the heavenly axiom, putting it at a disadvantage. The battle between the heavenly axiom and Gu Taxian could be seen from Gu Chensha and the Emperor of Heaven. In the secular world, Gu Chensha represented Gu Taxian, while the Emperor of Heaven represented the heavenly axiom. Now that the Empress of Heaven's origin had been refined by Lu Baiwei, naturally, the Emperor of Heaven was at a disadvantage, and so was the heavenly axiom. Of course, the heavenly axiom also had a very fierce counterattack, and this was what Gu Chensha was afraid of. With Gu Chencha's strength, it would not be a problem for him to advance to the sky origin stage in the future. Now that I've refined the Empress of Heaven's origin and advanced a step further, I can do more things. Lu Baiwei said. Next, what should we do? Also, I feel that the Emperor's will is not that simple. The people of China have changed. What you need to do is to try your best to stabilize them, and I will take the 9 heavenly kings' origin, collect the endless 36 treasures, refine the throne of the Emperor of Heaven, and weaken the power of the heavenly axiom again. I will participate in the deepest struggle. Gu Chensha said. This time I have understood many things. Many clouds have completely dispersed, and I can see everything except the Emperor of Heaven, including the earthly sovereign. The earthly sovereign? Lu Baiwei said, that is the Lord of the Underworld, second only to the Emperor of Heaven, also known as the Lord of Samsara, who controls the cycle of the netherworld. He is mysterious and unpredictable, and in the future, he will be one of the most powerful forces. With his identity, even the Emperor of Heaven can appoint and dismiss him at will. Could it be that this person has also infiltrated our imperial court? Yes, the earthly sovereign and the 10 Yama kings are also reincarnated. They have hidden themselves well and infiltrated our imperial court, ready to stir up trouble at any time. Moreover, they have received the order from the Emperor of Heaven, and they are plotting something big. If this big thing succeeds, it will be enough to overthrow the divine land and bring disaster to our rule, Gu Chensha said. Since they are eliminated immediately, eliminate these unstable factors. Lu Baiwei's face turned cold. She knew that once these people's conspiracy was launched, it would probably be as powerful as a thunderbolt, and the hearts of the people would be in turmoil, and it would be difficult for them to unite. It's not that simple, Gu Chensha said. This matter, I have to peel off the cocoon of silk, and solve the conspiracy step by step. Currently, the most important thing is that the people's hearts cannot change. Otherwise, if the people's hearts change, we will not be able to control the situation, and instead, we will be contaminated by the poison in the people's hearts, and fall into the abyss of eternal damnation. We have borne the karma of all living beings, and we also have to bear the greed, anger, and delusion of all living beings. The hearts of all living beings have changed. In their power of sacrifice, if there is no beauty, but only greed, anger, and delusion, our dragonless gourd will definitely be greatly contaminated. Lu Baiwei nodded. The contamination is secondary. I have already comprehended the highest realm of the Dragonless Heart Sutra, and once I succeed, I can turn the contamination into merit, and turn greed, anger, and delusion into truth, kindness, and beauty. Gu Chensha said. However, the Emperor of Heaven and his group will add fuel to the fire, and I will also be flustered. We can always learn from the heavenly axiom and destroy the world. When the people's hearts cannot be controlled, and there is no way to remedy it, we can immediately destroy the world, cleanse the filth, and rebuild the universe. Of course, I do have the ability to do that, but I absolutely cannot do that. The heavenly axiom could not control the people's hearts, but when the heavenly axiom lost control, it would destroy the world. For example, when the prehistoric civilization reached its peak, humans actually wanted to create their own system to replace the heavenly axiom. The heavenly axiom definitely could not make these people change their minds, and so, it immediately destroyed the world, and rebuilt the immortal axiom civilization. The immortal axiom civilization paid particular attention to the heavenly heart, obeying the heavens, cultivating virtue, and revering the heavens. But now, people like Gu Chensha were born. Similarly, when Gu Chensha stood at his current height, managing the 4 wilds of the divine prefecture, and the countless people in the country, among these people, there would also be uncontrollable factors. This was a problem that even the heavenly axiom could not solve. If Gu Chensha could solve this problem, he would truly surpass the heavenly axiom. I finally understand why the final move of the heavenly sacrificial talisman is to unite all living beings. Gu Chensha once again comprehended. The unity of all living beings is something that even the heavenly axiom cannot achieve. So, the heavenly axiom made the Son of Heaven try again, and failed again and again. In the end, although he did not succeed, he still accumulated a lot of experience, and caused the heavenly axiom to evolve. The heavenly axiom is constantly evolving. Even as Gu Chensha and Lu Baiwei were conversing, Zhuge Ye came in with a report. Something seems to be wrong with the sacrificial pool. The sacrificial power has decreased significantly. Oh! Gu Chensha's body flickered, and in the blink of an eye, he was in the deepest part of the dragonless gourd. It was a huge pond, and inside the pond were countless lines that penetrated into the void. Those lines were like invisible conduits that connected the hearts of all the people under Yongchao's rule. Sure enough, a third of the lines in the sacrificial pool had withered, and were now devoid of sacrificial power. In other words, 1/3 of the people under the heavens had chosen not to offer sacrifices to the imperial court. The hearts of the people were changing, and not even the imperial court could control them. As people get stronger, the hearts of the people change, and they lose the reverence and sincerity they once had toward the imperial court. In fact, as time goes by, disloyal hearts begin to form, and they begin to think that they, too, can rule the world. Gu Chensha observed the sacrificial pool. Within the pool, it was filled with the sacrificial energy of all living beings in the world. There were all sorts of bizarre and motley things. Sacrificial power was essentially primal chaos elemental power, which required incredible power and methods to extract deathless substances. Gu Chensha had the means and the power to do so. However, if the sacrificial pool lost the faith and reverence of the people, it would dry up. At that point, Gu Chensha would no longer be able to extract the substances from it. After all, he wasn't omnipotent. The good thing was that, although the hearts of the people had changed, the general trend was still in Gu Chensha's hands, as well as the imperial court's. If he could delay the trend, and buy enough time for Gu Chensha to fully comprehend the secrets of the Dragonless Heart Sutra, then everyone who cultivated it would become a divergent, and the change in the hearts of the people could be resolved. Gu Chensha was confident that he could change the hearts of the people and control them. If this goes on, in a few years, the hearts of the people in the imperial court will be lost. Zhuge Ye said, all the dynasties in the past have lost their hearts because of revolts and natural disasters. Who would have thought that our Yanko would lose their hearts because we are too powerful, and the people's cultivation is getting higher and higher? That's not strange. There's a saying among the people that if you raise a grain of rice, you raise a grain of rice to be hated. Great kindness is like great enmity, and when things reach an extreme, they will go in the opposite direction. This is the truth. Gu Chensha didn't find it strange. I'll go to the people to personally see the changes, and see how the hearts of the people change. We've won the hearts of the people, but because we've given too many things to the people, we've lost their hearts. This change is very beneficial to our cultivation, and we can carefully comprehend and understand more secret. Actually, the best way is to weaken the world, stop the people from cultivating, and imprison the people's wisdom. Zhuge Ye said, "The policies of the past dynasties have been like this. The people can be forced to do as they please, but they can't be made aware." Chapter 887. Gu Chensha, Lu Baiwei, Zhuge Ye, and the others formed the Celestial Pacification Department, which had given the people of the world far too many things. They had allowed the people of the world to cultivate, then passed on the human dragon fist technique, and created all sorts of tools to help the people of the world live better. The original contributions of the Celestial Pacification Department could not be buried. But now, as humanity grew stronger, the people's horizons were broadened, and the desires in their hearts grew greater and greater. As a result, many people became disloyal. Not only did they covet the throne, they also wanted to obtain more things. In this way, the hearts of the people of the world naturally began to disperse. Ambition grew, and naturally, the sacrifices were reduced. Sacrifices did not necessarily have to be carried out in public with all sorts of grand and solemn ceremonies. The main thing was the recognition of the people. If the people approved of you, even if there were no ceremonies, they would still have the power of sacrifice if they secretly talked about your various benefits. On the contrary, if the people did not approve of you, they would all have their own ulterior motives. No matter how grand the ceremonies were, they would not be able to obtain the power of sacrifice. Now that the Dragonless Cabinet had been formed, Gu Chensha and the others no longer called for the people to hold sacrifices. Everything was done according to their own heart. Although 1/3 of the people had already developed other thoughts, there was still a majority of the people who deeply approved of the Imperial Court, the Dragonless Cabinet, and even the previous Celestial Pacification Department. In fact, 1/5 of the people's gratitude towards the Imperial Court was as firm as a boulder, unshakable. Their power of sacrifice was pure, rich, and heavy. It was the true foundation. Imprisoning the world is a wise decision, but it has the opposite effect. In this way, I'm afraid those who originally supported us will change their mind. Gu Chensha waved his hand, not agreeing with Zhuge Ye's view. Of course, I'm also considering your worries. But I'm condensing an eternal truth, a mental cultivation method of the highest realm. Those who approve of me will follow this mental cultivation method and cultivate to the highest realm. There is hope for them to be immortal, indestructible, inexhaustible, and incorruptible. And those who do not approve of me will naturally have no hope of reaching this realm. Under the drive of this realm, the people will naturally approve of my truth. My Dragonless Heart Sutra is at this level, surpassing the 2 civilizations. It is the supreme truth of the heavenly Tao. Of course, it's not perfect yet, but I'm confident that if I continue to spread it, the truth will be understood and accepted by people. This is eternal nothingness. If we want to create a new world, an unprecedented achievement, then we definitely can't continue the imperial schemes of our predecessors, or the techniques to imprison the wisdom of the people. What we need to do is to cultivate the absolute truth, to be absolutely supreme. As a pioneer, we have to open up a path that is absolutely correct. If the people who come after us don't follow our path, then they will have to take a detour. This was what it meant to be upright. The path is right under our feet. It's up to you whether you want to walk it or not. If you follow my path, you'll become immortal. If you don't, you'll fall. I believe that people will make the right choice and judgment. This is what we have to do. Only with this mentality can we walk to the end. Otherwise, any deviation or schemes will make us vanish into the crowd. Not bad. After hearing this, Zhuge let out a long roar. This is indeed the overall state of our imperial court, the dragonless cabinet. We have to spread this ideology and spirit. You must bring up this ideology. After hearing Gu Chencha's words, Lu Baiwei also nodded. With this ideology as the foundation, it's tantamount to setting up an immortal pillar. Even if it's the Emperor of Heaven or the Heavenly Tao, it won't be easy to shake it. As she spoke, a wave of fate energy spread out, enveloping the entire dragonless gourd. The originally boiling sacrificial pool actually began to calm down. This was the true core of the imperial court, the dragonless cabinet. The ideology of ruling the world was finally determined. As soon as these words were spoken, the fate energy could sense that an immortal foundation had really been set up. From this, it could be seen that Gu Chencha's approach was truly the correct one. Now, every move of the people in the dragonless cabinet would affect the world. Therefore, they had decided on the core ideology. The world was unknowingly changing, and there would be great changes in the future. Our fate energy has solidified, and is virtually unshakable. Lu Baiwei could see that even though the imperial court's fate and providence had not started to increase, they had become many times more condensed and stable than before. In fact, they were still condensing and becoming more solid. It gave off a feeling of indestructibility and indestructibility. Next, we'll follow this strategy. Gu Chencha's body flickered as he left the dragonless gourd and entered the central divine prefecture. He wanted to see what was going on among the people, to see how their hearts had changed, and what their mental processes were like. This was a type of cultivation that he had been practicing. Originally, the Great Yonko was a place where the people were united, and the destiny of the nation was highly condensed. Ever since Gu Chensha had suppressed the world-destroying flood that had exploded the capital city, the destiny of the nation and the hearts of the people had reached a new peak. However, in the 36th year of the Heavenly Talisman, the Heavenly Tao had stopped watching over it. Cultivation among the people was in full swing, and the speed at which they rose through the ranks was incredibly fast. This was what it meant to say that hardship could bring prosperity to a nation, and that one could perish in a state of leisure. The Heavenly Tao was tied down by Gu Taxian, and could no longer destroy the world. Therefore, they simply poured oil on the fire, causing the world to expand and then collapse on its own. It had to be said that this was the most brilliant method. Gu Chensha suggested a way to deal with it. Xian Province is where the hearts of the people have changed the most. Gu Chensha had now landed in Xian Province. With a shake of his body, he transformed into a young man in gray linen clothes. He was not a Confucian scholar, but a wanderer of the pugilistic world. Ever since the arrival of the Yonko, although the secret surveillance was tight, the atmosphere of the world was very relaxed on the surface. Could be said that the world was tight on the inside and loose on the outside. Many of the people who had cultivated to the Tao realm had traveled the world, becoming wanderers and adventurers. They weren't scholars. That was because the imperial court had actually gone through a defunct attitude. There were fewer and fewer officials, and they were all replaced by common people generals, common people marquises, common people generals, and common people small officials. These common people puppets didn't know fatigue, and they were thorough in their work. They had no selfish motives, and no one would be able to pick out their mistake. This led to the imperial court's efficiency greatly increasing, and it also prevented the people from having any grievances against the imperial court. Just like that, many things were avoided. Of course, without a promotion channel, the common people would also lose some kind of binding and control power. This was also a big drawback. The biggest reason why the imperial examinations were held in the past dynasties was to rope in the scholars of the common people and give them a channel to promote, so that they would not wander about among the common people and develop resentment. Over time, they would have the intention to rebel. However, as a solution to this problem, Gu Qinsha had a countermeasure, which was to encourage people to fight against the demon race. The number of demons they killed would determine the amount of merits they would get. Those who contributed a lot could use their merits to exchange for various cultivation techniques, pills, and treasures from the calming celestial department. This was also a brand new promotion channel, and it also solved the problem of the demon race's invasion. Gu Qinsha had now landed in Xian province because for some reason, Xian province was the place where people's hearts were lost the fastest. In the process of the common people general's inspection, there seemed to be no problems in Xian province on the surface, and there were no evil spirits causing trouble. There weren't even any traces of heavenly kings. However, Gu Qinsha knew that there was indeed something fishy about this matter. After all, the common people general was at the celestial venerable realm, but Gu Qinsha's opponents were too strong. They were heavenly kings and the emperor of heaven at the drop of a hat. If these people purposely hid, the common people general's celestial venerable realm couldn't find any traces at all. Moreover, Gu Qinsha's main body was suppressing the restlessness of the divine continent and the 4 desolate lands to prevent any problems. Moreover, he was preparing a divine ability to completely refine the divine continent and the 4 desolate lands, turning them into a part of his dragonless gourd. This would require some time and energy, and it was definitely a huge project. Gu Qinsha arrived at the border of Xian province, the place where it connected to the desolate lands. Not long ago, this place was the main battlefield, and the commerce here was flourishing. However, as the barbarians were gradually expelled, the trade here declined. However, as the population grew, the trade here flourished again. The Great Wall of Stone stood at the border like a coiled dragon, and its momentum grew stronger and stronger. It was like a rope that firmly bound the divine continent. At this time, Gu Qinsha also saw the purpose of the heavenly talisman Great Emperor building the Great Wall of Stone. Defending against the barbarians was only a small part of it. The main purpose was to seal off the divine continent, cutting off some channel of the divine continent's transformation into the future heavenly court. This made it easier to suppress and refine the divine continent. Gu Qinsha gradually saw the height of the heavenly talisman Great Emperor Gu Taxian. He could understand many of Gu Taxian's plans in the past. The reason why he promoted Lu Baiwe was because Lu Baiwe had the origin of the Empress of Heaven in her body. Then, he made Gu Qinsha crown prince, so that he could use Gu Qinsha to imprison the one god system and the warships of the prehistoric civilization. There were many wonderful uses for building the Great Wall of Stone. Now that the Great Wall of Stone was here, Gu Qinsha felt that refining the divine continent would save him a lot of energy. There were many tourists on the Great Wall of Stone. There were also many shops on the Great Wall selling all kinds of things. These shops were all owned by the government. They brought all kinds of special products from the demon area of Xin province to exchange for all kinds of things in the depths of the desolate land. It was convenient for the people to buy and trade. Since the Great Wall of Stone had been built, it had become a landmark. Everyone was willing to come here to see the scenery, to appreciate the desolate land and the inside of the pass. There were more and more tourists on the Great Wall of Stone every year, and it became more and more prosperous. Moreover, there were several disasters in the divine continent, such as earthquakes and flood. Other places would be shaken, but the Great Wall of Stone did not move. It seemed to have become a place of refuge. When the supernatural spread, more people came to understand the mysteries. Chapter 888. Gu Chensha appeared on top of the great stone Great Wall and looked at the inside and outside of the divine prefecture. Tourists weaved in and out, densely packed and extremely prosperous. Occasionally, experts would fly over from the distance and land here. They found a place to sit down and comprehend. This was because some experts realized that comprehending Tao techniques on the giant stone wall would allow them to comprehend more. The giant stone wall became a place to comprehend the Tao. There really are so many experts here. Gu Chensha looked at all of this and thought back to the 14th year of Heaven Talisman. At that time, people who just stepped into Tao realm were already at the peak of pugilistic world and could be called old ancestors. Those who could fly in the air were pretty much all true celestials. Now, in just a short 20 years, the world had undergone a huge change. First, there were fortuitous encounters and many experts appeared. Then, the Heaven Tao stopped monitoring and it became really easy to raise one's realm. Now, there were basically many Tao realm experts and many of them had cultivated Sciention energy. There were even people at the 18th transformation, Great Tao Golden Core, that appeared like bamboo shoots after the rain. Tao Realm 36 transformations, each stage was a different state of mind. When one state of mind changed, some of them would give rise to strong heart demons. Gu Chensha realized that many experts had lost respect for the dynasty. In the depths of their hearts, they even relied on their abilities and weren't willing to listen to the dynasty's rules and laws. He walked on the hundreds of thousands of miles long, incomparably broad Great Wall, listening to the conversations of the people around him and sensing the chaotic emotions and atmosphere in the human world. The true thoughts of many people were reflected in his mind. Brother Wang, your cultivation actually improved once more. In just a short month, you went from Tao Realm 3 transformation Copper Skin and Iron Bones to Tao Realm 8 transformation Samadhi True Fire. This is a miracle. If news of this spread out a few years ago, no Black Heaven and Earth sect geniuses would be able to compare to you. Well said, well said. I just had some fortuitous encounters. Brother Zhang, you are the same. You actually broke through to Transformation 9 and cultivated the glass jade body. You are even ahead of me. Once the glass jade body is formed, you will have at least 300 years of lifespan. Congratulations. Haha, it's extremely easy to break through to the next level now. Brother Wang, I see that you came to the Great Wall to gain enlightenment and break through to the 9 transformations, right? To think that the Great Stone Great Wall is now a sacred land for comprehending the Tao. Ever since the Heavenly Talisman 36 years ago, there would occasionally be many miracles happening here. I heard that not long ago, an expert from the Hu clan broke through to the divine level here, cultivating to 30 transformations of the Tao realm and creating a world, becoming a top-notch character in one go. God tier. This realm allows one to live for thousands of years. However, we will reach this realm sooner or later. By the way, the Imperial Court recently released another piece of news. Have you seen it? It seems like they want to spread the Dragonless Heart Sutra. They say that once this Heart Sutra is cultivated, anyone can break through to the next realm and become an anomaly. I also saw this news. However, the Imperial Court broke up the Dragon Raising Heart Sutra, Dragon Creation Heart Sutra, and Holy Dragon Heart Sutra and transformed them into the Human Dragon Heart Sutra. They released them one by one and even wanted us to use our contribution points to exchange for them. This is a ploy and a ploy. It would be great if the Imperial Court made all the cultivation techniques public. That's right. If they could make all the cultivation techniques public, our cultivation and comprehension would increase tenfold or even 100-fold. I heard that the Imperial Court actually grasped the celestial venerable creation technique. In other words, even if we don't cultivate, as long as we obtain this creation technique, we can cultivate to become celestial venerables or even live as long as the heavens and the earth. This is not a rumor. This is the truth. Look at those common people. All of them are at the celestial venerable realm. This shows that the highest cultivation secret that the imperial court grasps is definitely not something that ordinary people like us can come into contact with. The imperial court actually has the power to create celestial venerables so that we don't have to painstakingly cultivate to become celestial venerables. However, the imperial court doesn't do this. Right now, there is already a voice among the people that wants the imperial court to be open to the public. They want to publicize all the cultivation secrets and techniques so that everyone can obtain the secret of immortality. I also hope to immediately obtain immortality. Even if cultivation is so easy now, I'm afraid that we have no hope of truly cultivating to the realm of living as long as the heavens and the earth. However, if the imperial court announces the secret, our hopes will be much greater. The imperial court keeps saying that they are wholeheartedly for the people and for the world, but in reality, they are also hiding it. The things that are being circulated now seem to be a great favor to us, but in reality, they are just plucking a hair to benefit the world. I think the imperial court still wants to restrict our intelligence and thoughts, not allowing us to develop by leaps and bounds. Of course, which dynasty's policy isn't to fool the people. We shouldn't have too much hope for the imperial court. However, it is still possible for us to appeal to the imperial court to reveal more cultivation secret. Do you think that if we appeal to the imperial court to reveal our cultivation secrets, we will be targeted by the imperial court and then secretly deal with us? I'm afraid that is still impossible. After all, the imperial court is the imperial court. They still have to put on a show. Of course, we don't know what they are actually thinking. Looking at the methods that the imperial court is hiding, they might not have any good intentions. For example, the imperial court doesn't actually want everyone to become celestial venerables, but in fact, it is possible to create human dragon pills and let everyone become geniuses. This is completely possible. However, how did the imperial court do it? They still limited the supply of pills. Even now, we don't have the talent to become geniuses. Not to mention geniuses, even if we are geniuses or born saints, the imperial court can create pills for us to become geniuses. But what did the imperial court do? There is indeed a huge problem with the imperial court. Let's not care about all this and just focus on cultivation and observe the changes. Gu Chensha casually listened and saw a few small groups of people between Tao realm changes 5 to 10 talking to one another. They were discussing cultivation and the imperial court. From their tone, it was obvious that they weren't satisfied and hoped that the imperial court could help them reach the heavens in a single step. Moreover, they seemed to be discussing to join some organization to force the imperial court to hand over more pills and technique. As expected, people's hearts were starting to change. At least the people in this small group didn't have any gratitude in their hearts. All they had was desire and unsatisfaction. They weren't satisfied that they only had 100 or a few hundred years of lifespan. They wanted to become celestial venerables and even live as long as heaven and earth. In the past, they didn't even dare to think about such things. But now that they had the imperial court, they felt that the imperial court could help them fulfill this wish. This was why they were extremely unhappy with the imperial court. As expected, one should be indebted to another. When Gu Chensha heard the thoughts of the people, he wasn't angry at all. Instead, he gained a deeper understanding of human nature. The human heart would never be satisfied. One could say that even if all the people cultivated to heaven life realm and lived as long as heaven and earth, they wouldn't be satisfied. They would still chase heaven essence realm, heaven realm, and even heaven Tao realm. All of them hoped to become people like the Emperor of Heaven or even existences that surpassed the heaven Tao. But this ambition was also the driving force behind their growth. From it, one could extract the strongest poison that could corrupt the heaven Tao. Gu Chensha had refined this kind of thing and successfully forced the celestial arch to retreat, thus allowing Lu Baiwei to truly refine the Empress of Heaven's source. Gu Chensha didn't do anything to this small group. He continued to observe. Many people's thoughts and discussions spread over even more intensely. Ha ha ha, I have finally broken through to Dao Realm Transformation 6. Xiantian energy, I have cultivated Xiantian energy. As expected, this giant stone wall is a great place to break through. 10% of it is breaking away from the foundations of the physical body and forming the Tao of energy. You have just started. On the giant stone wall, there were people who broke through to God Realm not long ago. But even God Realm is like an ant to the Imperial Court. One must know that the common people generals of the Imperial Court are all celestial venerables, God generals, and saints. In front of the common people general, God realm experts can be crushed to death with just one finger. This is why no matter how strong we are just people that the Imperial Court can easily trample on. The Imperial Court is only giving us benefits and hasn't trampled on us, right? That might not be the case. If they don't trample on us now, something cruel might happen in the future. Have you all reared pigs? Rearing pigs means feeding them well and serving them well. Once they get fat, they will be killed during the new year. They will eat their meat and drink their blood. They won't even let off their skin. Don't you think that we are being reared like pigs? There is indeed such a characteristic. The Imperial Court may seem fine now, but in reality, our lives and deaths are in the hands of the Imperial Court. In the future, the Imperial Court can do whatever they want. In other words, it's better to have one's life and death in one's own hands. Freedom should also be in one's own hands. No matter how benevolent a master is, there will still be times when he changes his mind. Well said. No matter how kind a master is, there will be times when he changes his mind. We have to control our own fate and not be controlled by the Imperial Court. Actually, the Imperial Court didn't give us anything. Everything we have was exchanged for. Instead, the Imperial Court absorbed the power of our sacrifices and refined undying substances from within. But what did we get? Some pills and cultivation techniques that aren't even as good as scrap. In the end, the Imperial Court's exploitation of us is even more vicious than the previous dynasties. The previous dynasties just took away the wealth of the people. But now the Imperial Court is taking away our soul, faith, and sacrifices. I don't think the Imperial Court will last long. That makes sense, so I won't worship the Imperial Court. Even deep in my heart, I won't feel any gratitude towards the Imperial Court. Chapter 889. 1 second small say section net. Org. Wonderful pop-up window free reading. Chapter 886. The endless dragon. The hearts of the people of the world had indeed changed. The originally well-behaved people, because they had obtained more power, greatly inflated the depths of their hearts. Before their horizons were broadened, they felt that the Imperial Court, Gu Chensha, and the dragonless cabinet did not give them much. However, it was impossible for the Imperial Court to disseminate all cultivation techniques and techniques to the world. If that was the case, the chaos in the world would increase by 1,000,000,000 times. This was because the world's heart had not yet reached the level where it could grasp an extremely strong power. Everyone grasped great power, but they did not have the corresponding state of mind, which would bring disaster to the world. In Gu Chensha's opinion, the people of the world were far from being able to truly grasp power. Giving them the strongest power was equivalent to giving a child a destructive killing machine. Throwing it out at the drop of a hat would cause disasters everywhere. Governing the world is so difficult. Gu Chensha sighed in his heart. No wonder even the heavenly Tao can't do anything to the human heart. I control the Qiankuan divine continent. If I'm not careful, I'll be devoured by the human heart of the divine continent and Qiankuan sooner or later. Walking on the great stone wall, Gu Chensha found that most of the people here were cultivators seeking a breakthrough. The Great Stone Great Wall gathered the veins of the divine prefecture. In an era without the supervision of the heavenly Tao, the Great Wall was also evolving on its own. It cultivated an invincible power and possessed its own spirituality. In the end, it became an existence even stronger than the Dragon Gate of the primitive universe, the primordial mist tree, and the heavenly sacrificial talisman. The Great Stone Wall had gradually revealed its invincibility. Gu Chensha also knew about this. The reason why he came to Xian Province and the Great Stone Wall was actually to set up a big picture. In the blink of an eye, his divine sense was able to penetrate every nook and cranny of the Great Stone Wall. The Great Stone Wall was hundreds of thousands of miles long, separating China from the wilderness. There were currently billions of people living on the Great Wall. There was no mistaking the fact that they were living here. They were renting houses, setting up tents, and seeking enlightenment. This place became a place of enlightenment. The reincarnation of infinity treasure? As Gu Chensha's divine will permeated the place, he sensed some unusual auras. He had already obtained the 12 inexhaustible treasures of the 3 ministers, 8 marquises and Fong Lin, as well as the 7 inexhaustible treasures of the great burning heavenly king, Fa Wuxian's inexhaustible umbrella, Wen Hong's inexhaustible cauldron, Xian Xian's inexhaustible heart, Gao Yuanxin's inexhaustible eye, and Zhang Ziren's inexhaustible flame. Adding them up, he now had a total of 24 endless treasures, and there were still 12 endless treasures wandering outside. Apart from Jing Qiu's inexhaustible river, Gu Tanjian, and Gu Changjian's inexhaustible sword and inexhaustible blade, there were still 9 endless treasures that Gu Chensha had been wanting to collect. In fact, every time he collected an endless treasure, it was equivalent to grasping a part of the Heaven Realm's secrets and abilities. Sooner or later, the Heaven Realm would be under his control. Now, Gu Tiansha and Gu Xiansha were plotting against the sun and moon, and even the entire Heaven Realm. However, in Gu Chensha's view, these 2 people were doing everything for him. Let them pose a threat to the Heaven Realm's will, let the prehistoric civilization system and the Heaven Realms will fight to the death. Then, Gu Chensha could truly collect the 36 endless treasures, open the door to the Heaven Realm, and refine the throne of the Emperor Heaven. He could truly rule over everything and follow his heart. Whoosh! Gu Chensha's body appeared on the other side of the Great Stone Wall, and he still saw tourists and cultivators everywhere. A few cultivators gathered together and communicated secretly with their divine thought. The aura of the endless treasure came from one of the cultivators. This fluctuation was very obscure. If Gu Chensha had not obtained the endless heart and cultivated to an invincible realm, he would not have been able to sense it. The person with the aura of the endless treasure was a very young man, about 15 years old, exactly the same age as Gu Chensha when he started out. Moreover, this young man had red lips, white teeth, muscular arms, and a thin waist. He was handsome, confident, graceful, and had an outstanding temperament. With a single glance, one could tell that he was a young hero. The people gathered around him were not ordinary people either, but they all obeyed his orders. From the looks of it, this young man was the backbone, just like how Gu Chensha gathered many experts to establish the calming immortal department back then. This young man's cultivation was extremely profound. When Gu Chensha looked over, he found that the power in his body was surging like a tide, like a dragon or a sea. The endless treasure in his body vaguely turned into the shape of a dragon, rising, changing, and stretching. The endless dragon? Gu Chensha nodded. The endless treasure in this young man's body was very powerful. It was called the Endless Dragon, and it was ranked 4th among the endless 36 treasures, second only to the Endless Cauldron. Moreover, this treasure, the Endless Dragon, and the Endless Cauldron worked together. Once the dragon entered the cauldron, it could truly control the world and achieve an invincible realm. Its status was even higher than Gu Tianzi's, and it would be the true lord of the human world. The human world was the future human world. It was extremely vast, and it was also the object of heaven's care. But now that Gu Chernsha had appeared out of nowhere and even suppressed the Emperor of Heaven, whether or not the human world could be formed in the future was unknown. Let's see what this young man is trying to do. I sensed an unusual aura from his body. He seems to have an extremely powerful fate and luck. Some of the previous endless treasures' reincarnations can't compare to him at all. Gu Chernsha observed in secret and didn't make a move. He wanted to see what mysteries this young man had. The heavenly Tao had now lost control of the human world, and all kinds of people with fate and luck were emerging one after another. In the past, the Emperor's fate was already the best in the world, but now there were more people with such fate, and there were even stronger ones. When Gu Chernsha saw this young man, he could sense from his fate. If this young man was in the past, his fate would have far surpassed Gu Tianzi's. Even the Emperor's fate was not as good as this young man. It seemed that besides the endless dragon, this young man had other secrets. Gu Chernsha had seen such a young man before, and that was Zhang Ziren. He contributed his endless flame to show his sincerity to the imperial court, but Gu Chernsha could sense that Zhang Ziren wasn't so simple. However, Zhang Ziren had been working hard for the imperial court and hadn't made any mistakes or complaints. He had also contributed a lot to the sacrificial power. This was why Gu Chernsha was able to make use of him. Long Xiangtian, your cultivation has actually improved so quickly. In the short 3 days we have been here, you have broken through many realms. You have gone from Dao Realm 17 Transformation Dao Splitting Soul to 27 Transformation 2 World Seamless. In 3 days you have broken through 10 realms. This is basically a miracle that has never happened in history. Even the top person in the world, the head of the Imperial Court's Dragonless Cabinet, Gu Chernsha, isn't as fast as you. Moreover, with your current 27 Transformation Realm, you can kill God Realm experts and even fight with saints. In the future, you will definitely achieve great things. There were men and women in this small group, and they were all filled with energy. With Long Xiangtian, who had the Endless Dragon, as the leader, the fate gathered by this small group was really overpowered. They could pretty much make their dreams come true and do whatever they wanted. This small group's fate is really overpowered. In the future, they will be able to do great things. Gu Chernsha frowned and continued to monitor them. The people in this small group were all cultivating, and they were using a hidden spiritual sense to communicate with one another. It won't be a problem for me to reach God Realm in one go. Long Xiangtian's divine will stirred in a cryptic manner. Furthermore, I've come to understand the wondrous effects of the Great Wall. The Great Wall itself is a dragon of the divine continent. It coils around the divine continent and suppresses it. Over time, it has produced a wondrous effect. Especially recently, countless cultivators and experts have come here to comprehend their cultivation realms. The will and psyche of these people are wholeheartedly focused on comprehending the Tao, producing the purest true intent of Tao enlightenment. This true intent is purer and more tyrannical than any sacrificial power. What I need to do now is to use my boundless dragon as a primer to permeate the great stone wall, then completely refine it, turning it into my life-bound treasure. That way, I can comprehend the secrets of the heavenly talisman emperor, as well as the spirit of Tao enlightenment of all living beings. As long as I take the great stone wall, my cultivation base will immediately reach grand completion, and I'll be able to get a share of the spoils from Yongqiao. What? You can even refine this giant stone wall? This giant stone wall is so majestic that it has weathered so many natural disasters. There was even a time when it transformed into a giant stone dragon that helped Yanko fend off a calamity. In the eyes of many cultivators, this giant stone wall is a supreme treasure. That's right. Long Xiangtian's divine will flickered as he continued, "This giant stone wall has already surpassed the desolate dragon gate, the heavenly sacrificial talisman, and the grand mist tree. What's even more amazing is that as the mysteries of this giant stone wall continue to manifest, countless experts have come here to comprehend the Tao. Their Tao comprehension spirit will permeate into the giant stone wall, causing it to grow stronger and stronger, eventually transforming into something that transcends the limits and limit. My current cultivation method is to plant my own will within the giant stone wall, gradually gaining control over the great stone wall, allowing it to absorb the Tao comprehension spirit of all living beings in the world. In the future, everyone would think that the imperial court has obtained the sacrificial power of all living beings in the world, but they would never know that I have already taken over the dragonless cabinet, feasting on the most delicious meat. The dragonless cabinet, the imperial court, and that so-called invincible Gu Chensha are merely eating my leftovers. With such a plan, can we really succeed? No one knows who will emerge victorious in the future. Another youth spoke. Chapter 890. Why is there such an arrogant person in the world? Dragon soars into the sky. Gu Chensha accurately grasped the changes in the divine will, and immediately shook his head. This Long Xiangtian actually wants to use the inexhaustible dragon in his body as a primer to refine the great stone wall and turn it into his own treasure. He even wants to secretly steal the imperial court's karmic luck, so that the imperial court's karmic luck can only eat his leftovers. This is like pulling the firewood from under the cauldron. His ambition surpasses even that of the primordial mystic sand and the primordial heaven sand. But he knows very well that he's getting closer to his goal. In terms of plans, Dragon Soars into the Sky really could succeed. There was a lot of hope. When was a person's psyche at its purest? Naturally, it was during enlightenment. That sort of psyche was the most transcendent, and if one could absorb that sort of psyche, they would become the king of sacrifices. The substances that could be extracted from it would definitely surpass the heavenly Taos, and would require boundless imagination and the spirit of breakthroughs. Gu Chensha had extracted quite a bit of it, and used it to create the true divine prefecture within the dragonless gourd. With the aid of these enlightened sacrifices, Gu Chensha seemed to be able to create a perfect divine prefecture that surpassed the divine prefecture of the Central Plains, a true divine prefecture. The divine prefecture was the strangest land that the heavenly Taos had ever created, and the substances extracted from the hearts of the people had certain characteristics that surpassed the heavenly Taos. If they could create a divine prefecture, it would be far more powerful than the divine prefecture itself. After the great stone wall became a land of enlightenment, the vast amounts of enlightened psyche, the king of sacrifices, had seeped into it, making the great stone wall a treasure that surpassed the primordial tree, the heavenly sacrifice talisman, and the dragon gate of the primitive wilderness. The great stone wall itself was the most powerful magic treasure. It could suppress the destiny of the divine prefecture, and even separate it from the four wilds. Gu Chensha knew that the great stone wall could be of help to him at the most critical moment. In the future, when he subjugated the four wilds and the divine prefecture, the great stone wall would fuse with them and become a critical aid. And now this youth, Dragon Soars into the Sky, wanted to take the great stone wall. His vile actions had shaken the foundation of the imperial court. However, Gu Chensha didn't immediately make a move to kill them. He could already tell that the destiny of this small team was exuberant and simply couldn't be suppressed. With such destiny, if he were to make a move, not only would he not be able to subdue them, but he would also be able to cause them to encounter one fortuitous encounter after another. They would be able to survive in the face of death, grow rapidly, and form a true enemy. Of course, Gu Chensha didn't care about this. If he forcibly exerted his power, he could kill this young man and his team. However, His body was in the divine land, refining the four wilds, monitoring the world, and searching for the Emperor of Heaven, so he had to spare some energy to observe the movements of the ancient mystic sand and the ancient heaven sand. Most importantly, he had to prevent the series of variables caused by the battle between the heavenly Tao and the heavenly talisman Great Emperor. Therefore, he could not divert too much of his power. Moreover, Long Xiangtian was one of the variables. In the future, there was no such person as Long Xiangtian. The others, such as the 9 heavenly kings, all appeared in the future, and even the Emperor of Heaven could be found in the future. Only Gu Tiansha, Gu Chensha, and himself did not appear in the future. In other words, the battle between the heavenly Tao and Gu Taxian gradually went out of control. In the battle between the two peerless existences, the destiny became chaotic, causing many variables that didn't happen in the future to occur. The reason why Long Xiangtian's destiny was so strong was most likely because of the battle between the heavenly Tao and Gu Taxian. Their destinies became chaotic, falling between heaven and earth, resulting in the birth of such a prodigy. Gu Chensha calculated slightly and instantly understood all sorts of things like the back of his hand. His spirit force moved. A smile appeared on his face. Long Xiangtian wasn't from the imperial court, nor was he from the Emperor of Heaven. He definitely wasn't from Gu Tiansha or Gu Xiansha. He had his own ideas and ambitions to rule the world and unify 10,000 worlds. If this person was used well, he might be the best chess piece to deal great damage to the Emperor of Heaven, Gu Tiansha and Gu Xiansha, while Lin Fan reaped the rewards. In that instant, Gu Chensha came up with a great plan. Immediately, he walked towards the small group. As he moved, Long Xiangtian sensed him and looked over. A surge of energy slowly seeped in, as if he was trying to see through Gu Chensha. However, everything about Long Xiangtian was under Gu Chensha's control. How could he let this kid see through him? "Little brother, you look extraordinary and have a high cultivation. From afar, I can see that your destiny is immeasurable." Gu Chensha walked over and said slowly, "With such destiny, you will definitely achieve great things in the future. How about I become friends with you? God Realm expert?" Long Xiangtian looked at Gu Chensha and a smile appeared on his face. To him, Gu Chensha hid it really well, but it couldn't escape his eyes. On the surface, Gu Chensha's strength was around 20 changes of Tao realm, but in truth, he hid his true divinity. He thought that he saw through everything about Gu Chensha, but what he didn't know was that Gu Chensha was just trying to confuse him. This person is at God realm and his realm is higher than mine. But if I use my skills, he won't be my match. Long Xiangtian thought to himself and stood up. "Since we are friends, then let's have a chat." Gu Chensha walked over. Long Xiangtian waved his palm and a table appeared in front of him. On it was a pot of tea and a few teacups. "Where are you from?" Long Xiangtian asked. "My surname is Zhou and my name is Wang." Gu Chensha made up a name. "I am from the central divine continent and I headed to East Wasteland to cultivate the celestial path. Now that the world is in turmoil, I've come here in search of an opportunity to make a breakthrough in the Great Wall." "So that is the case," Long Xiangtian said. "The imperial court is at its peak and has already conquered the 4 wildernesses. I heard many celestial cultivators say that East Wasteland has become the imperial court's territory. Heaven and Earth sect has joined the imperial court and Old Ancestor has become a celestial official. The imperial court has even started to create god generals to manage East Wasteland. With Brother Zhou's cultivation, you should be able to get a good position in the imperial court." When Gu Chensha heard Long Xiangtian's words, he knew that this person was testing him. He smiled. "Who can see through the changes in the heavens? The imperial court is strong, but when I look around, it seems like the hearts of the people are starting to change. In the future, it will probably be an era where heroes fight for supremacy. Who knows who will die, so I am not willing to be swept up in the imperial court's whirlpool. That's what you think, Brother Zhou? Long Xiangtian's interest was piqued. Then what do you think will happen in the future? The way I see it, from now on, heroes will rise up. It will be chaotic, and heroes will emerge in large numbers. The older generation will gradually fade away, and the people who once dominated heaven and earth will lose their halos. In the past, the three grand empyreans, as well as all sorts of old-timers, were peerless. The true gods spread their faith throughout the lands. But now, where are the three grand empyreans? Where are the other old-timers? Even Grand Emperor Celestial Talisman has disappeared. Only Gu Chunsha and the Dragonless Cabinet can rule the world. But as time passes, that generation will vanish like smoke into thin air. Gu Chunsha spoke in a tone that Long Xiangtian hoped for. In the depths of his heart, he had accurately grasped Long Xiangtian's thoughts. It seems like Brother Zhou isn't someone who is willing to live a peaceful life. But in my opinion, although there are countless experts in the world, compared to the Dragonless Cabinet of the Imperial Court, they are still a far cry. I heard some rumors that the Imperial Court has already grasped the desolate Dragon Gate, the heavenly sacrificial talisman, and other supreme divine weapons. They even grasped the secret arts of the prehistoric civilization that can create heavenly venerables. Look at that supreme marshal of the common people. Not only does he have the position of a true god, he is also an expert at the heavenly venerable level. Even if the people of the world have countless fortuitous encounters, how many of them can become an heavenly venerable? I think the world still belongs to the imperial court. Long Xiangtian purposely said, trying to probe the background of the Zhou Wang that Gu Chunsha had transformed into. Of course not. The power of the ancient prehistoric civilization wasn't limited to creating celestial venerables. Creating celestial venerables was only a mid-level technology for the prehistoric civilization. Their true power lay in replacing the heavenly Tao. However, even if they were so powerful, they were still annihilated. The current imperial court is still far from what it could be compared to when the prehistoric civilization was at its peak. How could it last for a long time? That Zhou Wang's words are quite interesting. I wonder if he has ambitions as well? If he does, I can subdue him and make him my subordinate. I can use him to accomplish great things in the future. But this person is a deity, so he probably has many secrets behind him. Maybe he's someone from a major power, coming here to look for people with fate and luck. But with my current strength, I'm not afraid of some major powers. But if I were to fight them head-on, both sides would suffer. Long Xiangtian was also thinking, after obtaining the Endless Dragon, my cultivation has improved by leaps and bounds. But with my current strength, I'm only on par with a sage. If I meet a heavenly venerables, I won't be a match for them. After saying so much, I still haven't asked for little brother's name. Gu Chunsha asked. I'm Long Xiangtian. Long Xiangtian didn't hide his name. As for these brothers of mine, I met them when I was traveling around the world. With me as the center, we formed the Flying Dragon Association to fight against the demon race. There are many unpredictable variables. Brother Zhou Wang, you're very strong. Why don't you join our association? We can go to the demon territory and kill countless demons to earn merit. Of course I'm willing. Gu Chunsha cupped his hands. I knew that little brother's fate is like the sun in the sky, illuminating the mountains and rivers. In the future, you'll definitely be extraordinary. Chapter 891. Ha ha ha, since you've joined the Flying Dragon Union, you should be honest with me. I think you're a god, right? At this time, Long Xiangtian said to Gu Chunsha's Zhou Wang. You can see it so clearly? Even I can't hide it from you? Gu Chunsha pretended to be surprised. I more or less have some secret techniques. For example, Long Xiangtian suddenly slammed his palm towards Lin Fan. Gu Chunsha quickly retaliated and the two palms collided. At that moment there was a slight explosion. Long Xiangtian didn't move at all, but Gu Chunsha took 3 or 4 steps back. So powerful! Gu Chunsha was even more surprised. Your palm technique even contains the power of the holy path? I feel like an endless dragon is coming towards me. Even the power of my world is no match for it. Of course, Gu Chunsha did it on purpose. He knew what Long Xiangtian was thinking. However, Gu Chunsha could tell that Long Xiangtian's palm technique not only contained the secret of the endless dragon, but also a bit of the power of the Great Stone Wall. From this, it could be seen that this young man was really planning to take over the Great Stone Wall. Gu Chunsha felt that Long Xiangtian was very valuable. It was better to observe him in secret and see what tricks he had up his sleeves. He wanted to make use of Long Xiangtian's luck to reach its peak and then harvest the fruit. In Gu Chunsha's eyes, Long Xiangtian was an immature celestial medicine. It wasn't time to harvest it yet. He decided to add fuel to the fire. Long Xiangtian's luck and luck were like the smell of blood in the sea. They would attract countless sharks and beasts. For example, if the Emperor of Heaven saw Long Xiangtian's luck, he would definitely take Long Xiangtian in and strengthen his own forces. Gu Tiansha and Gu Xiansha would do the same. With this bait, Gu Chunsha would be able to fish out many powerhouses who didn't show their strength. Guild leader's strength is truly outstanding. Gu Chunsha pretended to be convinced by Flying Dragon's strength. Very good. Long Xiangtian's gaze flickered, and he saw that he had actually sent a dragon-shaped rune into Gu Chunsha's body to control him. He definitely wouldn't trust this Zhou Wang in front of him, but now he could completely control him. Even if you're a divine realm expert, you won't be able to escape the control of my soaring dragon true talisman. This soaring dragon secret art is a supreme secret that I've comprehended myself. In the future, I'll definitely surpass that Gu Chunsha's dragonless heart technique and become the highest profound that can truly dominate the world. This child planted a secret technique in my body. This secret technique is quite interesting. I didn't think that the variable that appeared in the world would have such profound wisdom. How could Gu Chunsha not know of Long Xiangtian's every move? He was interested to see how far he could grow. Alright, we're on the same side now. At this moment, Long Xiangtian felt that he had complete control over Gu Chunsha. This was because Gu Chunsha's aura, divine sense, and even his microscopic world were all under his control. Let's carry out the plan. In reality, this was an illusion that Gu Chunsha had given Long Xiangtian. What's the president's plan? At this moment, Gu Chunsha was also communicating with his divine sense. Listen up, this time, I'm going to break through to the divine realm and subdue the Great Stone Wall. Only by subduing the Great Stone Wall will our Flying Dragon Union have the ability to fight against the various powerful figures in the world. After I become a divine realm expert, killing celestial venerables won't be a problem. Long Xiangtian didn't hide his ambition. Then what do we need to do? At this moment, some of Long Xiangtian's companions asked. These companions were all people with extraordinary luck. Gu Chunsha looked over and saw that all of them were peerless geniuses. In particular, there was a man and a woman among them who vaguely had the potential of being born with the talent of a saint. Actually, when Gu Chunsha spread the human dragon fist throughout the world, almost everyone in the world could learn it and use it to improve their aptitude. These people had obviously learned the human dragon fist and used the Raising Dragon Heart Sutra, Making Dragon Heart Sutra, and Holy Dragon Heart Sutra to gradually improve their aptitude. In the past, Gu Chunsha wanted everyone in the world to become a genius. Now, he had achieved 90% of this goal. Everyone in the world, even babies, would have the potential to become a genius after being baptized by the human dragon fist. Protect it for me, Long Xiangtian said. At the same time, increase the reputation of our Flying Dragon Union. we also need to gather faith. The more faith we have, the stronger we will be and the more likely we will be able to subdue the great stone wall. Yes, we're already secretly doing this. However, if we do it with great fanfare, we might attract the attention of the imperial court. The imperial court is very powerful now, Gu Qinsha said. If we're discovered, we'll be in danger of being destroyed. What's there to be afraid of? I already have a plan. Long Xiangtian laughed coldly. The world is going to be chaotic soon. The earlier we prepare, the more benefits we'll have. Don't look at the dragonless cabinet, Gu Qinsha, Lu Baiyue, Zhuge Ye, Gu Huasha, and Wen Hong. They might be able to control the situation, but things aren't what they think. Don't worry, just do it. Since the guild leader has said so, we can make our move. The few men and women nodded. You're not strong enough, said Long Xiangtian. First, set up a grand spell formation. Circulate your mental cultivation method. Follow my Tao of the Soaring Dragon. Gather your strength, penetrate the great stone wall, and steal the spirit of enlightenment. Instantly, a profound spell formation was transmitted into Gu Chencha's mind. This formation and mental cultivation technique were Long Xiangtian's Tao of Soaring Dragon. Suddenly, Long Xiangtian uttered a syllable. This syllable was an incantation. It was a combination of 3 dragon characters. These words and sounds were the sounds made by the dragons as they soared into the sky. This sound contained the highest principles of heaven and earth. It was a secret that Long Xiangtian had comprehended himself. As soon as the incantation rang out, Gu Qinsha felt that the minds of these people were closely connected. It was as if a group of dragons had soared into the sky and soared into the sky. Then, this intent entered the great stone wall. At that moment, Gu Qinsha could vaguely feel that the great stone wall was about to follow the will of the dragons and fly into the sky. It would transform into a stone dragon, transcend the world, and become an independent entity. Under Long Xiangtian's infusion, the great stone wall began to undergo a fundamental change. I've underestimated Long Xiangtian. If his sacrificial power is fully activated, it'll surpass the sacrificial power of a heavenly king. Gu Qinsha secretly calculated and nodded. If Long Xiangtian became a sacrificial subject, then the purity of his sacrificial power would surpass that of the Punisher Heavenly King. Punisher Heavenly King Gu Xinjian had taken control of the Inferno continent, turning it into the Yangkou Fun province. Now, he had built a portal to the Four Wilds, and the citizens of the Inferno continent had begun to interact with each other. Gradually, the billions of people of the Inferno continent had become part of the Yangkou rule. Everything was going very well. Gu Xinjian was a heavenly king, second only to the Sun-Moon Lord, the Emperor of Heaven, and the Empress. According to the future development, no one could surpass him in terms of source power. However, Long Xiangtian's source power surpassed that of a heavenly king, and there was even a hint of untapped potential. In fact, Gu Qinsha had a feeling that if Long Xiangtian's potential was used to its fullest, he could surpass the Sun-Moon Lord. He came to the commoners and actually found such a person, which was a good harvest. However, this also meant that the situation was starting to get out of control. Whether it was the Emperor of Heaven, the Yonko and the Dragonless Cabinet, or the Heavenly Tao and Gu Taxian, they were all unable to control the situation. They could no longer grasp the future. As for what the future would become, it was impossible to predict. In the future, if people like Long Xiangtian were to appear continuously, there would only be 8 or 10 of them, and the world would truly be in chaos. Gu Qinsha could not suppress them all, because there was still the Emperor of Heaven to hold them back. Once more, Long Xiangtian chanted. With him at the center, there seemed to be a suction force that made anyone who got close to him feel like they would turn into a dragon and fly into the sky, obtaining true freedom. This person's body gave off a weird attraction. Not bad, not bad. Gu Chensha nodded to himself. Although this person is a product of the situation that went out of control, he has his redeeming qualities. From his soaring dragon mental cultivation method, I was able to draw parallels from other aspects and improve my dragonless mental cultivation method. I obtained some good ideas, and only by pooling my thoughts can I further perfect it. Pung pung pung, a soft sound spread out from Long Xiangtian's body. In the blink of an eye, Long Xiangtian broke through once more, going from Tao Realm Transformation 27 to Vacuum Crushing. Breaking through realms was just so easy. For the next 3 days, each day Long Xiangtian would break through a realm. Comprehending the primordial chaos from the 28th to 29th transformations was extremely easy. It was as easy as eating and drinking water. It could be said that even people with King Source couldn't break through so easily. On this day, Long Xiangtian's body trembled once more, and the power of the world's birth and destruction erupted from his body. Generally speaking, when a high god created their own world, they would absorb energy from the primal chaos, then refine it into world energy. They would then evolve the way all living things operated, enriching their own world, turning it into an organic cycle. But when Long Xiangtian's world was born, it didn't absorb any chaos energy at all. Instead, it absorbed the Tao comprehension power from the giant stone wall. This Tao comprehension power far exceeded all the essences of chaos energy. It was even more than the power of worship. The Tao comprehension power was the king of worship. This was why Long Xiangtian's dust world was born. Chapter 892. In 3 days, Long Xiangtian rose by 3 levels. He actually went from Tao Realm Transformation 27, Seamless 2, to 30 World Creation. Furthermore, Long Xiangtian's microscopic world was drawing on the enlightenment energy from the Great Stone Wall. In this way, he had actually cultivated his own microscopic world into the king of the world. This microscopic world contained a power that not even the Tao of the heavens possessed. When any cultivator formed their own small world, they would use their own powers to form a world. Then, they would combine it with chaotic energy to break it down and refine everything from within to make their world rich and colorful. Just like that, Long Xiangtian's world could suppress any god realm, saint, and even heaven venerables. After advancing to god realm, Long Xiangtian had the right to rule the world. Even heaven venerables weren't his match. More importantly, he actually formed an inseparable connection with the giant stone wall. He could use the giant stone wall for himself. Gu Chensha knew all of this and he didn't stop him. This was because to Gu Chensha, while Long Xiangtian was controlling the giant stone wall, he was also sending power to it. When Long Xiangtian reached the highest realm, he would refine the giant stone wall and he would become a part of it. At that time, Gu Chensha would refine the giant stone wall into the dragonless gourd. Only then would he be truly perfect. Moreover, after Long Xiangtian controlled the giant stone wall, his cultivation would become even stronger. He would be able to cultivate his soaring dragon heart technique to a higher realm and supplement Gu Chensha's dragonless heart technique. Gu Chensha hoped more and more that someone like Long Xiangtian would appear to provide him with resources. Long Xiangtian, soaring dragon heart technique, not bad, not bad. Since that is the case, let me help you. Gu Chensha's divine will moved, and the essence of the Dragonless Heart Sutra was injected into the Great Stone Wall. He fused with the Great Stone Wall and finally condensed into the strongest Tao Comprehension Spirit, which was secretly injected into Long Xiangtian's body. Gotcha! Shock appeared on Long Xiangtian's face. How can there be such a Tao comprehension energy? Who is comprehending the Tao here? Could it be the heavenly talisman emperor? Long Xiangtian's world king swelled up and became 1,000 times bigger. He went from a world king to a world king. Apart from that, his realm rose once more. He went from Tao Realm Creation World to Tao Realm Creation World to Void Creation. He improved once more to Tao Realm Transformation 32, one thought connecting to heaven. He then reached Tao Realm Transformation 30, Truth Saint Heart. Only then did he stop. Even Long Xiangtian himself couldn't understand this situation. Based on his calculations, he would have to stop for a while after he reached the divine level, the realm of world creation at the 30 transformations. He would need to accumulate more energy. However, an extremely powerful essence of enlightenment was being transmitted from the Great Wall of Rocks, expanding his origin by 10 times. In an instant, he had broken through 3 stages consecutively and reached the Saint Realm, the strongest realm. He had even turned his microscopic world into a minor kiliacosm. Very good, very good. Luck is on my side. Long Xiangtian slowly opened his world. I am still lacking a little. If I can reach Celestial Lord Realm in one go, I can turn the minor kiliacosm in my body into a medium-sized world or even a large-sized world. Then, I can open up my world and wrap it up. I can merge it into my world and become the strongest power to suppress the world. At that time, even Gu Qinsha might not be my match. I will be the top person in the world. This kid is really arrogant. At this moment, Gu Qinsha completely understood Long Xiangtian's state of mind. Even Long Xiangtian's every move was within his grasp. This was because he had also infused his enlightenment intent into the Great Stone Wall. Then, the Great Stone Wall's mind completely controlled Long Xiangtian. At the same time, he studied how this person was born. Only by understanding Long Xiangtian's background would he be able to control him. Congratulations, leader, for reaching Saint Realm. All the experts in the Flying Dragon Guild were delighted. They looked at Long Xiangtian like they were looking at the only leader in history. Long Xiangtian had been cultivating here and his breakthroughs were just too unbelievable. In just half a month, he went from Tao Realm 18 transformation to Tao Realm 33 transformation. This wasn't cultivation anymore, it was as simple as eating and drinking. Not bad, this is the sign of my rise. Long Xiangtian swept the area and looked at Gu Chencha's Zhou Wang. When he saw the shock on this Zhou Wang's face, he couldn't help but nod his head. I wonder how confident the guild leader is of refining the giant rock wall into his body? Gu Qinsha asked. The most important thing now is to subdue it. That is the foundation of our path. That day is not far away. Long Xiangtian felt an endless amount of power in his body. He was really confident. My strength has reached a new realm. I will swallow heaven and earth and break through the ages. Today is the day. Good, good, good. Just as the people from the Flying Dragon Guild were celebrating, another voice spread into their ears. Who is it? Long Xiangtian's gaze turned dark and cold. He saw a middle-aged man walk over slowly. Everyone around seemed to have disappeared, and only this middle-aged man stood in front of him. This person is really strong. His aura is deep like the ocean, and he is no weaker than the Lord of the Sun and Moon. If I am not wrong, this person is the mysterious Emperor of Earth. Gu Qinsha looked at the middle-aged man who was wearing a simple robe. He seemed like he came from a normal rich family, but his aura was only weaker than the Emperor of Heaven. Without a doubt, this person was the Emperor of Earth. The most mysterious person had finally appeared. Long Xiangtian had attracted him. That was exactly what Gu Qinsha wanted to do. The reason he helped Long Xiangtian increase his cultivation base was firstly to control him. Secondly, he wanted to use him to lure out some powerful beings, such as the other kings, the King of Earth, and the Emperor of Heaven. The Emperor of Earth had also sensed Long Xiangtian's power and potential, so he wanted to take him in. Who are you? Long Xiangtian stood up slowly. He could feel that this person had come with ill intentions. Don't worry, I am not hostile. The middle-aged man who seemed to be the Emperor of Earth smiled. I never thought that there would be someone like you in this world. It seems like the times have changed. Who are you? If you don't tell me, don't blame me for being impolite. Long Xiangtian was full of hostility. Attack? You should know that your current strength, potential, and even plans are a serious threat to the imperial court and the dragonless cabinet, especially Gu Chernsha. If he knows about this, he will definitely suppress you at all costs. If we take action, we will definitely be discovered by Gu Chernsha. Now Gu Chernsha is activating his power to suppress the Four Wilds and the Divine Land. He is trying to refine the Four Wilds and the Divine Land into his dragonless gourd. He wants to recreate an existence that can replace the way of heaven, just like the prehistoric technological civilization in antiquity times. I think we can cooperate now, the middle-aged man suspected to be the earthly sovereign said. Who are you? Tell me, then we can work together. Long Xiangtian didn't dare to make a move. He was afraid that the imperial court and the dragonless cabinet would find out. Right now, he was at the most crucial moment of refining the giant stone wall, and he couldn't afford to make any mistakes. If the imperial court found out, his plan would definitely fail. Hence, he was only bluffing. The current you is not my match. The middle-aged man who seemed to be the Emperor of Earth said. But I can't expose myself here. Do you know about the future heavenly court? Future heavenly court, Long Xiangtian said. Are you the Emperor of Heaven? No, impossible. The Emperor of Heaven won't come out easily. The Lord of Sun and Moon is someone else. Among the 9 heavenly kings, even the chaotic heavenly king isn't as strong as you. If that's the case, who are you? Are you the Emperor of Earth? Your guess is correct. As expected of one of the greatest variables born in this world. Gu Tiansha is a variable, but you are a variable that doesn't lose to him. The earthly sovereign said, if you cooperate with me in the future, I will give you an extremely high position. How about it? You should know that in the future, the establishment of the heavenly court is inevitable. Don't forget about it. The heavenly court is high above, and the underworld controls reincarnation. If you cooperate with me, I will give you a high position in the underworld. You will be on equal footing with me. How about it? Heavenly court, underworld. Long Xiangtian frowned. He seemed to be thinking about something. After a long time, he suddenly said, it seems that you are very ambitious. If I join your underworld, in the future, your power might even surpass the heavenly court, right? Of course, we can work together to rule the world. How about it? The Emperor of Earth was still observing Long Xiangtian, as if he was looking at a treasure that he was satisfied with. If he could recruit a talent like Long Xiangtian, it would be like having an invincible general. My intention is to rule the world. I know that the underworld has 10 Yama kings, who are as strong as the 9 heavenly kings. Plus, you are the Emperor of Earth, also known as the Lord of Samsara, and countless reincarnations of the underworld. Why don't you join me? If you join me, I can immediately reach the heavenly Lord realm and conquer the Great Stone Wall. I can even overthrow the Yonko and establish my own empire. In the future, I can devour the Emperor of Heaven and control the heavenly Tao. Isn't that great? Long Xiangtian looked at the Emperor of Earth and sneered. He would never join the Emperor of Earth. Moreover, he wanted to devour the Emperor of Earth. However, he knew that the Emperor of Samsara was stronger than him. This time, the Emperor of Earth definitely had a way to suppress him. A crisis was about to break out. Chapter 893. Geniuses remember in 1 second go if you like? Say, providing you with interesting novels to read. Chapter 890. The King of Earth's appearance. The King of Earth wanted to subdue Long Xiangtian, but Long Xiangtian was even more ambitious. He wanted to take the forces of the underworld under his command. If he could obtain the worship of the underworld, he would be able to reach the heavens in a single step. He would immediately become one of the major forces in the world. Moreover, his cultivation would soon reach the Sky Lord realm. Swallowing the great stone wall wouldn't be a problem for him. However, the king of earth was the master of samsara. How could he be subdued by Long Xiangtian? Hearing Long Xiangtian's words, the king of earth's eyes flashed with murderous intent. However, he quickly suppressed it and said, "Young man, you're so arrogant. You don't respect the heavens and earth, the heavenly court and the great Tao. The heavenly court has collapsed and the great Tao has fallen. I am the great Tao." Long Xiangtian looked at the king of earth provocatively and said, "King of earth, you're someone who was born with the times. You'll have a place in the future, but your fate is already decided. You won't be able to develop, and I'm someone who doesn't exist in the future. Therefore, my potential is limitless. Even now, you can't suppress me. In the near future, I will surpass you and suppress the underworld." Right now, the earthly emperor's samsara master's strength and realm were indeed above Long Xiangtian's. However, it would not be easy to capture Long Xiangtian. Therefore, Long Xiangtian wasn't afraid. He was confident. Even if the king of earth attacked him, it would be a form of training for him. "Young man, you're too arrogant." The master of samsara, the earthly sovereign, shook his head and said, "Today, I came here to see what kind of powerful figure has emerged. My original intention was for us to join hands and conquer the world in the future and start a business. Unfortunately, your ambition is too great, and it does not match your strength at all. In this way, there will definitely be a disaster. You are the same as Gu Chensha, an existence that defies the natural order. I'd better suppress you first. Do you really think that with your cultivation, you can do whatever you want? You are really a frog at the bottom of a well." As he spoke, the master of samsara slowly stretched his hand over. Everything disappeared, and what was left was his huge hand. He wanted to capture everyone from the Flying Dragon Guild. Master of samsara, the master of Earth Emperor, slowly stretched out his palm. In the eyes of those outside, the great stone wall was still windy and sunny. There were many tourists, and it was very peaceful. There was no movement at all. The power of the earthly sovereign and the master of samsara had reached such a level that he could completely ignore the supervision of the imperial court and do whatever he wanted. Love go little say, net. Chugu Chensha was secretly observing all this, and he had a good understanding of the cultivation of the earthly sovereign. The earthly sovereign was indeed powerful. He hid and stirred up trouble among the people. The supervision of the imperial court couldn't do anything to him. All the people's marshals had become celestial masters or even real gods. When they joined hands to supervise the world, they formed a Skynet. No matter how strong the cultivators were, they would still be exposed. However, compared to the earthly sovereign, there was still a huge gap. The earthly sovereign could play a celestial master in the palm of his hand. Even Gu Chensha couldn't find the traces of the earthly sovereign because his real body was in charge of the four wilds and the divine land. The good thing was that Gu Chensha used his strategy and the attraction of Dragon's soaring sky to successfully lure the King of Earth out. Knowing the background of the King of Earth, Gu Chensha was very confident that he could deal with this person and uproot the underworld. "Let's go." At this moment, Long Xiangtian didn't want to fight with the earthly king, nor did he want to expose his identity here. Suddenly, his body moved and turned into a dragon-shaped light that enveloped everyone. Even Gu Chensha's Zhou Wang was taken away by the light. He escaped from the earthly king's grasp by a hair's breadth. "Want to run?" The earthly sovereign moved and chased after him. In the blink of an eye, Long Xiangtian left the four wilds and the divine land and arrived at an unknown place in the heaven realm. This place was full of barren mountains and was extremely strange. The earthly sovereign naturally wouldn't let go of Long Xiangtian. He locked his eyes on Long Xiangtian and sent out another palm. This palm could shake the sun and moon, pluck the stars, tear the earth, and contain the ocean. With the current cultivation of the earthly sovereign, He could almost destroy the boundless world with one move. The earthly sovereign's cultivation was above the sky origin realm. Although he hadn't reached the heaven realm, he wasn't far from it. Somehow, he had already grasped a part of the highest essence of immortality. The power that Long Xiangtian was using now was the power of the Great Stone Wall. If it wasn't for the support of the Great Stone Wall, he would have been captured by the earthly sovereign in one move. Although Long Xiangtian's origin was strong, he hadn't reached the Heavenly Lord realm yet. Naturally, he wasn't a match for the earthly sovereign who was second only to the Emperor of Heaven. However, Gu Chunxia didn't have the intention to make a move because he knew that Long Xiangtian was strong and wouldn't be killed. Under the pressure of the earthly sovereign, Long Xiangtian's potential would be stimulated, and it wasn't impossible for him to escape unscathed. This was also the reason why Gu Chunxia didn't make a move for now. He wanted to see what kind of fortuitous encounters Long Xiangtian would have while being chased. Bang! Long Xiangtian saw that he couldn't escape from the earthly sovereign's attack. He roared in anger and unleashed the power of his newly cultivated spirit space. He gathered it on his palm and slapped it towards the earthly sovereign. Bang! The moment he attacked, Long Xiangtian once again let out the sound of a group of dragons soaring. As soon as the sound came out, all living beings in the world seemed to respond. Countless dragon wills gathered on his palm and turned into an ocean. In that ocean there were countless dragons. Good mental cultivation, good martial arts, good supernatural power. Seeing this palm, the earthly sovereign couldn't help but praise. If I had a few more years, I might not be able to kill you and capture you. Unfortunately, you're still far behind me. I won't let you grow up. Otherwise, you'll become a big problem in the future. As he spoke, a pitch-black reincarnation power appeared on the earthly sovereign's palm. Crackle! The two palms collided. As the two palms collided, a destructive force spread out, turning the surrounding mountains and rivers into ruins. Even the space was torn apart and exploded. Countless space-time turbulence and cosmic tides descended on the land of the heavenly realm. Puff! Long Xiangtian spurted out blood from the impact. His body was in tatters, his eyes were glazed over and his primordial spirit was in a mess. The earthly sovereign strode forward and grabbed Long Xiangtian again. Long Xiangtian, no one can save you this time. You refused a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. If you agreed to my proposal, I could even help you refine the Great Stone Wall. But since you want to drink a forfeit, don't blame me. I'll capture you and turn you into my puppet. Earthly sovereign, don't even think about it. Blood flowed out of Long Xiangtian's eyes. Suddenly, he let out a roar and burst out again. As he did, countless beams of starlight appeared in the depths of the chaotic flow of space and time. The starlight formed a huge dragon, which then transformed into a stone steel. The stone steel was covered with twisting dragon snake characters, and it was filled with an archaic aura. The stone tablet rumbled as it flew into Long Xiangtian's body and entered his world. The astral dragon tablet. The earthly sovereign recognized the tablet at first glance. It was the strongest artifact the astral dragon tribe had ever created. The astral dragon tribe was the most unique of the dragon tribes, born from the Dragon Gate of Yinhuang. But later on, the tribe broke away from the Dragon Gate and became a powerful faction. They even wanted to devour the stars in the heavenly world, turning them into their private property. It was because of this thought that the astral dragon tribe met with a calamity. However, the Star Dragon clan was a great clan that had once dominated the world, after all. They had refined countless treasures, conquered and created countless worlds, and had also given birth to a glorious civilization. In the past, Yuhuan Lu obtained one of the astral dragon tribe's ultimate treasures, the myriad melody dragon zither. Even a heavenly longevity realm ancient like Wan Senshi was moved by it. The myriad melody dragon zither was only one of the astral dragon tribe's treasures. In ancient legends, the astral dragon tribe wanted to create an artifact that surpassed the dragon gate of Enhuang, the astral dragon tablet. The astral dragon tablet only existed in legends. It had never appeared in the real world. Right now, Long Xiangtian was about to be captured by the sovereign of Earth. He didn't know what kind of fate or miracle he had come across, but the star dragon steel actually appeared and entered his inner world, providing him with endless power. Good. This kid's fate isn't fated to die yet. Even the earthly sovereign can't kill him for now. Gu Qinsha watched silently and didn't make a move. The astral dragon tablet's appearance proved his speculation. The astral dragon tablet is indeed mysterious. Of course, the astral dragon tribe was born in the Dragon Gate by chance. Endless starlight was absorbed by the Dragon Gate, which gave birth to the ancient and tyrannical dragon tribe. They broke free and became a powerful tribe. They created a glorious civilization. Although it's not as advanced as the prehistoric civilization, it's still very mysterious and powerful. The astral dragon tablet's profundity is almost equal to the Dragon Gate of Enhuang. However, if it wants to surpass the Dragon Gate, it's still lacking a bit. But now that it's inside Long Xiangtian's world, it'll be nourished by his soaring dragon mantra. In the future, if it devours the Great Stone Wall, it'll truly transcend and become an existence that surpasses the Dragon Gate. Long Xiangtian really had a fortuitous encounter. The Astral Dragon Tablet contained the entire Astral Dragon Tribe's civilization and accumulated power. The Astral Dragon Tribe's entire civilization was no weaker than the Dragon Gate of Enhuang. In other words, in that instant, Long Xiangtian obtained a treasure that was on the same level as the Dragon Gate of Enhuang. His entire person began to be reborn, and his cultivation rose once again. Chapter 894. Geniuses remember in a second if you like it, go? Say, to provide you with wonderful novels to read. Chapter 891. Adventures. Again and again the Star Dragon Steel was not only the crystallization of the Star Dragon clan's wisdom and civilization, but it also contained many transcendence techniques. In the early days, the Star Dragon clan had chosen a representative to fight for the hegemony of the Divine Continent. They even built a huge dynasty and collected many sacrifices. Some of the famous emperors in history were the reincarnations of the Star Dragon clan or their pawns. In the history of the Divine Continent, there were some dynasties that used the dragon flag of the Star Dragon clan. Even the reason why the dynasties respected the Dragon clan more or less was because of the Star Dragon clan's influence. The stellar dragon steel contained a massive amount of divine energy. When this divine energy entered Long Xiangtian's world, it instantly expanded. Originally, Long Xiangtian's body was a minor kiliacosm, and the stellar dragon steel was on the same level as the desolate dragon sect, a major kiliacosm. Therefore, in an instant, Long Xiangtian's minor kiliacosm turned into a medium-class world. Moreover, it was constantly expanding, showing signs of turning into a major kiliacosm. In the past, the Dharma saint had schemed for countless benefits and came up with countless schemes to turn the legalism school's minor kiliacosm into a medium-class world. But now, Long Xiangtian was casually chased by someone and obtained a major kiliacosm-level supreme treasure, turning his minor kiliacosm into a medium-class world. This was really infuriating. Even Gu Qinsha himself had spent a great deal of energy and mental strength to transform the calming immortal department's common peoples will sphere into a dimensional realm. It was far from being as convenient as Long Xiangtian. Long Xiangtian's destiny was even stronger than the heavens chosen. He had broken through some kind of limit and was a product of the collapse of the heavenly Tao. This was the only way to explain his destiny. Gu Qinsha knew that even if he was the one chasing Long Xiangtian, the result would be the same. Long Xiangtian could still obtain countless fortuitous encounters and escape from his pursuit. Of course, with his intelligence, Gu Chunxia had already seen through many mysteries and understood the fundamental mysteries of fate energy. No matter how strong this dragon's fate energy was, he could use the Tao of Yin and Yang to weaken it. For example, the King of Earth had chased after Long Xiangtian, allowing Long Xiangtian to obtain the stellar dragon steel. Although Long Xiangtian's strength had increased, he had also consumed a lot of his qi. Every fortuitous encounter would cause his qi to decrease. No matter how strong Long Xiangtian's qi was, there was a limit. The more fortuitous encounters he had, the more qi he would consume. What was even more amazing was that Gu Chunxia was secretly absorbing Long Xiangtian's fate energy. The moment Long Xiangtian obtained the stellar dragon tablet, Gu Chunxia sensed all the knowledge and secrets of the stellar dragon tribe. All of a sudden, a new essay appeared in Gu Chenxia's sea of consciousness. The dragonless mental mantra seemed to contain boundless truths, and glittered with starlight. It was as if numerous dragons of stars were thinking, creating, and assuming various stances. This was the essay formed from all the knowledge of the stellar dragon tribe. Gu Chunxia had incorporated a race's civilization into his system to study it. Rumble. In Gu Chenxia's sea of consciousness, the stellar dragon tribe's essay and the other essays interacted with each other. Clouds and water surged, wind and lightning shook, and it gradually shrank until it was the size of a chicken egg. It contained the entire universe, including the impermanence of life and death. Good. My dragonless mental mantra has improved again. Gu Chunxia said, Indeed, I've plundered Long Xiangtian's fate energy. However, this isn't the only thing Long Xiangtian has. In the future, his fate energy will be even greater. I'll let Long Xiangtian fight with the King of Earth and the Emperor of Heaven. When two tigers fight, one will definitely be injured, and both will suffer. I will then be able to reap the benefits. King of Earth, you won't be able to kill me. Instead, you will activate my fate energy and allow me to have many fortuitous encounters. Now that I have the Star Dragon plaque, you won't be able to touch me. Long Xiangtian's cultivation rose from Tao Realm 33 to 34, controlling fate. After reaching such a realm, Long Xiangtian felt like his mind was really clear. He could see that his own fate was like a pillar that held up the sky. He was the only one in the world. Ha ha ha! Long Xiangtian circulated the power in his body and activated all his cultivation. His body, which was injured by the King of Earth's attack, instantly recovered. Advance once more. Tao Realm 35 Transformation, Chaotic Dust. Pung! Many worlds were born in his body once more. They absorbed all sorts of weird powers in the world and arranged themselves. They were born and destroyed at will. The moment he used his palm technique, he was actually able to block the King of Earth's power. Flying Dragon 10,000 Transformations. Long Xiangtian's palm transformed into billions of palms. Each palm could grab heaven and earth and grab all things. He was actually trying to counter-attack the King of Earth. Not bad, Star Dragon plaque. You have many fortuitous encounters. The Sovereign of Earth didn't seem to be shocked at all. I have already calculated this. Of course, you won't be easily captured by me. However, it is precisely because of this that I have to do it myself. You are too valuable. If I can refine you and take away your fate energy, my cultivation will break through the destiny. Piak. Behind the earthly sovereign appeared layers upon layers of palaces, dark prisons, and endless abysses. In the depths of those abysses, innumerable ghosts and gods were howling and screaming miserably, which contained the deepest pain in the world, as well as all the ugliness, sin, lust, and chaos in the world. Palaces, abyss, rivers, bridges, yellow springs, fairy, reincarnation, oblivion. Everything formed the underworld. This was a huge magic treasure, and it was also the most powerful layout in the world. This was the underworld. The heaven court and the underworld were the future of the two worlds. The heaven court was high above and controlled all space and time. The underworld was hidden in the dark and accepted the punishment from the heaven court to the races and demons. It controlled reincarnation. The heaven court represented the absolute light, while the underworld represented the land of judgment. Although the underworld was controlled by the heaven court, it was a system of its own. The heaven court and the underworld were established to become an eternal layout in the future. The heaven court hadn't appeared yet because the divine continent and the four wilds were suppressed by Guchurnsha. But the underworld had appeared. Right now, the king of earth was using the entire power of the underworld. The moment the power of the underworld was released, heaven and earth seemed to be filled with a sinful atmosphere. Long Xiangtian, you are guilty! Whoosh! Whoosh! As soon as the earthly sovereign said these words, a huge black iron chain appeared in the void and appeared beside Long Xiangtian, sealing all of Long Xiangtian's yuan qi. These black iron chains even seeped into Long Xiangtian's world, sealing his world energy. Long Xiangtian couldn't use his own energy. He was completely suppressed and bound. Damn it! Long Xiangtian roared. Unfortunately, all of his energy was suppressed and sealed. He couldn't even use the power of the stellar dragon's steel. The power of the stellar dragon's steel is indeed tyrannical. It can almost be compared to the dragon sect of the untainted universe. But how can it compare to the underworld? The power of the heavenly court and the underworld represents the future. In the future, the underworld will judge sins and punish those who break the order. Long Xiangtian, you've already broken the order of the heavens and earth. The underworld must suppress you. I'd like to see what kind of destiny you have to go against the underworld. As the king of earth spoke, he walked over step by step. An ancient well appeared in the center of the underworld behind him. The water of the yellow springs surged and changed, trying to suck Long Xiangtian into it. As the king of earth spoke, he was filled with anticipation. He knew that if he could suppress and refine Long Xiangtian, the benefits he would gain would be great. The Earth Sovereign is indeed powerful. With the appearance of the underworld, I have one more opponent. However, no matter how powerful the Earth Sovereign is, he is still lacking compared to the Heaven Sovereign. However, the power of the underworld far surpasses that of the Heaven Sacrificial Talisman, the Desolate Dragon Gate and the Desolate Tree. Even if the three great treasures join forces, they are still not a match for the underworld. I want to see how Long Xiangtian is going to break out of this. Guchurnsha was looking forward to it. Even with his current wisdom, he couldn't guess what would happen between Long Xiangtian and the King of Earth. However, he believed that Long Xiangtian wouldn't be suppressed by the King of Earth so easily. Sure enough, at the most dangerous moment, Long Xiangtian changed again. His spirit was communicating with the countless worlds, the chaos, and all living things. He was doing his best to struggle. He knew that if he was sucked into the underworld, all of his efforts would be in vain. He would become the King of Earth's food. King of Earth, don't think that you have already won. Fate, scatter, exchange. In the blink of an eye, Dragon Xiangtian unleashed his own destiny, causing countless streams of destiny to swirl around him, forming a bright light above his head. That light then exploded out into the chaotic flows of spacetime, into the depths of the heaven world, into the boundless worlds, into the countless planes, and into the various kingdoms that had existed since ancient times. Buzz, as if the King of Earth's fate had sensed it, a few more rays of light pierced through the sky. Zzz, one of the rays of light was extremely dazzling. It was as if it could take away all the light in the world. This light was indescribable and could not be seen. Anyone who saw this light would be completely melted in it. This is the light of destiny. The King of Earth was shocked. This light is the light that the heavenly Tao tore apart when it encountered a tribulation. It carries the glory of the heavenly Tao. Legend has it that only the Emperor of Heaven has it. The Emperor of Heaven's responsibility is to collect the light of destiny from the world and return it to the heavenly Tao. The heavenly Tao has experienced many tribulations, causing the light of destiny to scatter in the hidden space-time. You can actually trigger it? How is that possible? Chapter 895. It is actually the light of destiny. Gu Chensha also saw the sudden appearance of the light. It was drawn by Long Xiangtian's destiny and entered his world. At that moment, Gu Chensha had a feeling that Long Xiangtian was the Emperor of Heaven. He knew about the light of destiny. It was the highest essence that was formed when the Tao of Heaven was damaged. Even if one obtained a little, one would have endless power. This light of destiny was hidden really deeply, and would only appear if one was lucky. Logically speaking, Long Xiangtian was someone who defied the heavens and shouldn't have been able to obtain the light of destiny. But now that Long Xiangtian had obtained this light, Gu Chensha immediately had a correct understanding. The heavenly Tao had also lost the secret of controlling infinite worlds and endless space-time. Celestial Dharch would not be the only master in the future. Of course, he would not be either. In the future, people like Long Xiangtian would appear. If more of such people appeared, the world would be in chaos. The light of destiny entered Long Xiangtian's world. Kacha kacha, a series of collapsing sounds rang out. Long Xiangtian's eyes opened wide and flames rumbled. Instantly, all the chains around his body exploded and the seal on the underworld was ripped apart. Go! Long Xiangtian's strength increased once more. His cultivation rose from Tao Realm 35 chaotic dust to 36 embodiment transformation. He reached the peak of 36 transformations right away. Throughout the ages, no one had been able to level up faster than him. But Long Xiangtian knew that even if he had another fortuitous encounter and merged the light of destiny into his body, it would at most increase his ability to escape. The underworld wasn't something that he could go up against with just a random fortuitous encounter. Earthly Sovereign, it won't be long before I return to suppress you. I'll definitely pay you back tenfold for what you've done today. All of a sudden, Long Xiangtian's body distorted and he disappeared. The Emperor of Earth couldn't chase in time. Moreover, Long Xiangtian hid really well and his aura was really hard to track. The Emperor of Earth could have used the Heaven and Earth search technique, but he was afraid that it would be discovered by Gu Chensha, so he stopped. King of Earth, it seems like you still can't subdue Long Xiangtian. This person is a variable that appeared out of nowhere. With such luck, I'm afraid he will be another Gu Chensha in the future. While the King of Earth was thinking about how to deal with Long Xiangtian, a mass of chaos appeared. This mass of chaos constantly changed into all kinds of faces, one of which emitted the strongest aura of origin. Chaotic Heavenly King, you've finally appeared. The earthly sovereign looked at the mass of chaos and said. As it turned out, this mass of chaos was the future number 1 chaotic Heavenly King of the Heavenly Court. Earthly Sovereign, I never expected your underworld to be successfully established. However, you are unable to fully power the power of underworld. Your strength is still lacking, said the Chaos Heavenly Monarch. Of course. The Emperor of Heaven has yet to be born, and the structure of the underworld has yet to be settled. The earthly sovereign said, the appearance of a Gu Chensha is already extremely difficult to deal with. Now, another Long Xiangtian has appeared. What troubled times! The Emperor of Heaven has yet to be born, and our days are getting more and more difficult. The Emperor of Heaven has already been born, but he's preparing a series of plans. However, I agree with what you said, King of Earth. The calamity is getting worse, and the heavenly Tao is weakening. No one can control the future. We have to think of a countermeasure to ensure our own safety. The chaotic Heavenly King said, among us 9 Heavenly Kings, Heavenly King Jin's origin has already been extracted, and he has become an ordinary person, unable to recover. Heavenly King Executioner is completely controlled, and he has betrayed the heavenly court and Emperor of Heaven. Gu Chunsha is ruthless, and he's plotting against Heavenly King Donghua. The Hong Meng tree will fall into his hands sooner or later. There are more and more variables, and that Gu Chunsha has already become a force to be reckoned with. But first, we have to suppress Long Xiangtian, capture him, and refine him. One Gu Chunsha has already caused chaos, and now there's another Long Xiangtian. I'm afraid we'll all die without a burial place. The earthly sovereign sighed. Apart from that Gu Chunsha is also a huge variable. Demons run amok, and the heavenly Tao is out of control. The chaotic heavenly king said, "Let's join forces and kill this Long Xiangtian first." But his fate energy is too strong, and we can't kill him at all. If we can use a plan, we can make him and Gu Chunsha fight to the death. That's the best way. Difficult, difficult, difficult. The earthly sovereign said, "Only the Emperor of Heaven can fight Gu Chunsha. Judging from his Dragonless Heart Sutra and the power to suppress the four wilds of the Divine Prefecture, this person's means are not something we can handle. If we plot against him, he will easily plot against us." Compared to Gu Chunsha, Long Xiangtian was still much weaker. "Let's go and find a chance to discuss this." As they spoke, the two disappeared. After the two of them disappeared, Long Xiangtian reappeared with an ugly expression on his face. "So, in the eyes of the heavenly court and the underworld, I'm just a resource. I'm far from being a match for Gu Chunsha. I'd like to see how powerful Gu Chunsha is. Now that I've obtained so many fortuitous encounters, I have enough methods to refine the great stone wall. As long as I refine it, my cultivation will increase tenfold." In a flash, Long Xiangtian returned to the border between the Divine Prefecture and the Wildlands, on top of the Great Stone Wall. His world slowly unfolded, spitting out the members of the team. "Everyone, you've all been shocked. I didn't expect to meet one of the strongest existences in the world. But don't be afraid, under my protection, no one can hurt you." Earthly Sovereign. It's actually the Earthly Sovereign. According to the legends of the future, the Emperor of Heaven. The Earthly Sovereign is the true ruler of Yin and Yang, second only to the Emperor of Heaven. He actually appeared, but he couldn't do anything to the president. The young men and women worshipped Long Xiangtian to the extreme. "Big Brother Long, I think you're the Emperor of Heaven," a woman said. "Indeed, I am the future leader." Gu Chensha's incarnation of Zhou Wang also pretended to be convinced, as if he had completely submitted to Long Xiangtian. This time, he had obtained a lot of benefits from Long Xiangtian. He had obtained all the knowledge of the Star Dragon clan, and when the light of destiny had descended, Gu Chensha had also obtained more secrets of the Sky Tao. The expansion of the Dragonless Heart Sutra made him feel like he was about to break through to the divine origin realm. With his current strength, it would be difficult to break through. But once he did, it would be earth-shattering. Gu Chunsha decided not to deal with Long Xiangtian for now. He wanted to fatten him up first. This person's fate was great, and he might even be a key to understanding the complete version of the Dragonless Heart Sutra in the future. "Zhou Wang, what do you think about the Earthly Sovereign attacking me?" Long Xiangtian looked at Gu Chensha's incarnation of Zhou Wang and asked. In his group, Zhou Wang's cultivation was the highest, at the God realm. Right now, the president's cultivation can be said to be domineering. He has become one of the most powerful figures in the world, but his weakness is that his forces are too small. That Gu Chunsha has hundreds of heavenly venerable puppets, not to mention other experts. One tree cannot make a forest. Even in the future heavenly court, they will meet the Lord of the Sun and Moon, the 9 heavenly kings, the God of Stars, and the 10 Yama kings, judges and gods of hell. Gu Chunsha said, "The most important thing now is that we need to expand our forces. We need to gather many experts, at least heavenly venerable and heavenly longevity realm expert. Other than that, we can even capture the heavenly kings and Yama kings. Since the earthly sovereign wants to harm us, then we must deal a heavy blow to him. I heard that the imperial court also captured the heavenly kings. Why don't we capture the Yama kings? That's right. Our Flying Dragon Society is too small. No matter what we do, in the end, we must gather people, gather faith, and refine materials. Even the Heaven Sovereign is no exception. After the establishment of the Heaven Court in the future, the Heaven Sovereign will establish the human realm so that the human realm can offer sacrifices to the Heaven Sovereign, strengthen the Heaven Court, and maximize the power of the Heaven Court. Long Xiangtian said, I obtained the wisdom of the Star Dragon race and know how precious the human heart is. To reach the highest realm and transcend, we must rely on the human heart. However, the Star Dragon race's civilization is far from the prehistoric civilization. I must find the prehistoric civilization. But President, you should refine the giant stone wall first. Gu Qinsha said, but the giant stone wall is the key to the heavenly talisman Great Emperor Gu Taxian's suppression of the divine continent. If President refines it, will there be all sorts of strange phenomena that will lead to the imperial court suppressing us? That's a possibility. To be honest, it's still very difficult for me to fully comprehend the secrets of this great wall. However, riches and honor come from danger. If I can refine this great wall, the benefits will be immense. At the instant of refining it, my strength will greatly increase, and the imperial court won't be able to do anything to me. They can only swallow their anger. At that time, the imperial court might even compromise. Long Xiangtian laughed coldly. From now on, I will refine the giant stone wall. Rumble. His will seeped into the giant stone wall. Compared to before he fought with the earthly sovereign, it was thousands of times stronger. The giant stone wall was stimulated by his will, and there were all sorts of reactions. Chapter 896. Soaring Dragon Heart Sutra. 10,000 dragons rise, dragons become dragons. Long Xiangtian silently used his Soaring Dragon Heart Sutra and sent it into the monolith wall. He felt the connection between him and the monolith wall become stronger and stronger. The power of the monolith wall surged and merged with his mind. Within his dimensional realm, the dragon steel of the Star Dragon clan gradually melted under this strength. It disintegrated and fused with the Great Wall of Stone. Amazing! The Great Wall of Boulders has indeed surpassed the primeval dragon sect, the heaven sacrificial talisman, the primordial mist tree, and even the astral dragon steel melted under the effects of the Great Wall of Boulders, turning them into my Soaring Dragon Heart Sutra. Long Xiangtian felt his cultivation increase by leaps and bounds. It was as if he was about to break through the divergent realm and become a celestial lord. Amazing! Gu Qinsha was also watching the changes. He was very happy. Long Xiangtian's Soaring Dragon Heart Sutra is quite powerful. When he fuses it with the monolith wall, he thinks he has subdued the monolith wall, but in reality, he has added his own soul to the monolith wall. The monolith wall just lacks someone like Long Xiangtian. If it fuses with him, it can become a supreme treasure that can suppress the divine land. This is also what I need. Long Xiangtian is a person with a monstrous destiny. He has obtained the astral dragon steel and the light of destiny. In the future, he will have countless fortuitous encounters. If all of these fortuitous encounters are combined with the Great Stone Wall, the Great Stone Wall will eventually transcend. Since that's the case, I'll increase the intensity and use you as my test subject. Let the Dragonless Heart Sutra reach a critical point. Gu Qinsha suddenly sent his Dragonless Heart Sutra's secret essence into the monolith wall. The monolith wall moved slightly, and there was a mysterious sound coming from inside. At this time, Long Xiangtian, who was cultivating, suddenly felt his divine sense move. He felt a mysterious force coming from inside the monolith wall. What is it? Long Xiangtian carefully analyzed the secret. He felt like it contained a technique that was many times better than his own. It could even complete his soaring dragon technique, and make it even more powerful. The heavens are helping me. I didn't think that there would be such a profound secret inside the great stone wall. What is this technique? It seemed to be somewhat similar to the dragonless mantra that Gu Chensha comprehended. Could it be that when Gu Chensha suppressed China and the four wildernesses, he was also building the great stone wall? His Tao-comprehending spirit also seeped into this great wall, and I obtained his dragonless mental cultivation technique? That's right, that's how it is. Who would have thought that I would be able to obtain the essence of this person's dragonless heart sutra? Since that's the case, then everything he has done is for me. Once I obtain this dragonless heart sutra, I will be able to cultivate my soaring dragon sutra to the true supreme realm. At that moment, Long Xiangtian's mind spun billions of times. Each time it spun, there would be all sorts of unbelievable changes. As such, Long Xiangtian started to level up and break through. As he broke through, Long Xiangtian's body started to give off the aura of an Empyrean and a Divergent. He merged his soaring dragon technique and dragonless mental cultivation technique together and started to comprehend them at the deepest level. I want you to break through to the Empyrean realm, the Divergent realm. Gu Chensha observed the changes carefully. He was treating Long Xiangtian as a test subject. Long Xiangtian's cultivation was at the Tao realm 36 transformation realm. Once he reached this realm, it would be hard for him to improve any further. Next, he would have to break through to become a Divergent and then become an Empyrean. The stronger one was, the stronger the restrictions at this stage would be. Especially for someone like Long Xiangtian. Gu Chensha created the dragonless mental cultivation technique to give all living beings the ability to become divergent. This was why his dragonless mental cultivation technique surpassed the dragon nurturing technique, a dragon creation technique, and holy dragon technique. Anyone who cultivated this dragonless mental cultivation technique could become a divergent. However, his dragonless mental cultivation technique was still a little short of success. Coincidentally, Long Xiangtian was a good chance, after he used the dragonless mental cultivation technique. To comprehend the Divergent, it would give him a lot of feedback, allowing him to improve his own technique. This was a precious test subject. In the world, it was hard to find a test subject like Long Xiangtian. It could be said that even Lu Baiyue's luck couldn't compare to Long Xiangtian's. Soaring dragon in the sky, king of the sky, divergent Tao, shatter. After half a month, Long Xiangtian's heart technique revolved to the limit. A shattering aura emitted from the deepest parts of his body. Like this, Long Xiangtian's aura revolved faster and faster, and his dragonless mental cultivation technique became increasingly mysterious. Finally, his entire body was filled with the aura of a divergent. Within his dimensional realm, the Star Dragon steel created by the Star Dragon clan had finally turned into a seed formed from countless galaxy vortexes. This seed was planted within the Great Stone Wall, allowing his will to penetrate into the Great Stone Wall. Good, good, good. The Great Stone Wall will soon become my avatar. Long Xiangtian's heart shook and he roared. It was as if a heroic feeling of dominating the world was spreading out from his body. He knew that his strength had made another great progress. As long as he could reach the Empyrean realm and completely refine the Great Stone Wall, even the earthly sovereign wouldn't be able to do anything to him. It looks like this child will ascend to the Empyrean realm soon. Gu Chensha carefully analyzed this test subject and nodded. This child's destiny is ever-changing. As I meditate on it, it gives me a great deal of information. With this information, I will be able to bring the dragonless mental cultivation technique to true perfection. Then, anyone in this world, any living being that cultivates it can become a divergent. Gu Qinsha knew that once his dragonless mental cultivation technique reached perfection, he would have a transcendent foundation capable of resisting the heavenly Tao and the Emperor of Heaven. Even if the heavenly Tao and the Emperor of Heaven were to succeed, he could still lie dormant and hide himself so that the heavenly Tao and the Emperor of Heaven wouldn't discover him. Then, he could wait for a chance to make a comeback and obtain true immortality. Empyrean. Long Xiangtian naturally didn't know that he had already become a chess piece and a test subject. He still thought that he had stolen Gu Chensha's dragonless mental cultivation technique. After breaking through to the divergent stage, he tried to break through again, converting all of his world energy into the aura of an Empyrean. The rate of transformation was getting faster and faster, but it didn't show on the outside. To outsiders, Long Xiangtian looked like he was sitting on top of the great stone wall, meditating and cultivating like many other cultivators. There were as many people like him on the great stone wall as there were hairs on a cow, and they didn't attract any attention. Any powerful existence that became an Empyrean would cause a huge phenomenon, and there would even be tribulations. Many people who became Empyreans would be annihilated by the following tribulations. But Long Xiangtian didn't face any tribulations when he became an Empyrean. In other words, he had already grasped the secrets of a divergent, and was carrying out his plan to steal the heavens. After thousands of twists and turns, Long Xiangtian's body trembled, and from his head down to his hair, he became an Empyrean. He had finally succeeded. The moment he became an Empyrean, Gu Qinsha received all of the information regarding Long Xiangtian becoming an Empyrean, as well as countless precious data. Good, very good. So that's how it is. Gu Qinsha couldn't help but feel great joy in his heart. These precious data fused with his dragonless mental cultivation technique, causing it to produce a squirming that surpassed the heavenly Tao's. The Dragonless Heart Sutra, which he had been unable to make a breakthrough for a long time, melted bit by bit like breaking ice. In the process of melting, Gu Qinsha only felt that his horizons were getting wider and wider. In that instant, he seemed to have seen beyond the boundless space and time, the heavens beyond the heavens, the lands beyond the earth, the emptiness beyond 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 the emptiness. In a place that could not be thought, understood, explained, or described, there were two masses of wills clashing with each other, blending together, killing each other, devouring each other, and changing each other. The two masses of will were indescribable, and they couldn't be guessed. As they fought, they lost many things. In the endless battle, the two masses of will gradually weakened, and they couldn't control the situation anymore. This is the confrontation between Father Emperor and the heavenly Taos? Just as I expected, the situation can't be controlled anymore. No one can say what will happen in the future. The changes produced by the confrontation between the two of them gave birth to people like Gu Tiansha and Long Xiangtian. Gu Qinsha came back to his senses and thought carefully. He saw something that no one else could see. At this time, Long Xiangtian became an Empyrean, and he began to infuse his Empyrean source into the great stone wall. Another month passed, and the great stone wall moved slightly. Long Xiangtian felt a slight change in his will, and it permeated every corner of the great stone wall. Then, as he breathed, the great stone wall also breathed. He even felt that as long as he willed it, the great stone wall could fly out and move according to his will. In the unseen world, he could use the power of the great stone wall to suppress everything. I finally succeeded. Long Xiangtian opened his eyes and took a deep breath. I finally became an Empyrean, and refined the great stone wall into my doppelganger. Not only that, I also obtained the dragonless mental cultivation technique. However, I can't activate the Great Stone Wall right now, in case the Imperial Court finds out. That Gu Chunxia is really powerful, and the dragonless mental cultivation technique is mysterious. I still don't fully understand it. So, if I want to suppress him and turn him into my slave, I'm still a bit off. At worst, both sides will suffer. That's not a good plan. Just wait for me to cultivate for a while longer, and combine the soaring dragon mental cultivation technique with the dragonless mental cultivation technique. Then, the Imperial Court will be mine. Chapter 897. I've also succeeded. The moment Dragon soars into the sky succeeded, Gu Chunxia let out a long sigh of relief. The dragonless Heart Sutra in the depths of his sea of consciousness began to brew, and it suddenly shrank. The endless chapters shrunk into a short article that was only several thousand words long. Every single word in this short article contained a profound thought that was all-encompassing. A few thousand words were enough to encompass everything. Within the Dragonless Heart Sutra, the aura of a divergent was constantly being emitted. In other words, at this moment, Gu Chenxia's Dragonless Heart Sutra had succeeded. This Heart Sutra reached perfection, and finally became the divergent Tao. Anyone who cultivated Gu Chenxia's Dragonless Heart Sutra could progress step by step, from an idiot to low-grade talent, medium-grade talent, high-grade talent, genius, natural-born saint, and finally divergent. Step by step, there was a ladder of improvement. Otherwise, in the past, a person's talent depended entirely on innate talent or unpredictable fate. There was no systematic, theoretical progress. From now on, as long as one cultivated the Dragonless Heart Sutra, everyone could become a divergent. This final point of perfection, Gu Chunxia did indeed rely on Long Xiangtian as a test subject, obtaining the data from his experiments and calculating it himself, thus advancing. Without Long Xiangtian as a test subject, Gu Chunxia could forget about obtaining the precious data to calculate the Dragonless Heart Sutra to perfection. Once the Dragonless Heart Sutra was completed, Gu Chenxia's strength increased once again. Within his body, the heavenly longevity realm's source energy gradually began to transform, and the aura of sky origin appeared. In other words, he would gradually advance to the sky origin realm. This Long Xiangtian's fate energy is probably second only to the Emperor of Heaven. I've used his fate energy to do many things. Right now, the Great Stone Wall has basically devoured the stellar dragon steel, a treasure of the boundless world level. In addition, it has also devoured Long Xiangtian's fate energy. On the surface, it looks like Long Xiangtian refined the Great Stone Wall, but in reality, it was the Great Stone Wall that refined Long Xiangtian. From now on, Long Xiangtian's fate and the Great Stone Wall are inextricably linked. Gu Chunxia had long since understood the ins and outs. In the future, Long Xiangtian would have many more fortuitous encounters and obtain countless magical treasures. These fortuitous encounters and magical treasures would be integrated into the Great Stone Wall. The day Flying Dragon runs out would be the day that Gu Chunxia reaps his harvest. If Long Xiangtian had obediently worked for the Imperial Court, or if he didn't harbor any ill intentions, Gu Chunxia wouldn't have done anything to him. However, Long Xiangtian wanted to refine the Great Stone Wall and seize control of the Imperial Court. He wanted to rebel and destroy the world. Gu Chunxia definitely wouldn't allow such a thing to happen. Furthermore, Long Xiangtian was the reincarnation of the Endless Dragon, one of the 36 Endless Treasures. Now, he had refined the Endless Dragon in his body into the Great Stone Wall. As a result, the power of the Great Stone Wall was further enhanced. Gu Chunxia only felt that the restlessness in China was gradually calming down. It was much easier for him to suppress China. Congratulations, leader, for successfully becoming a celestial master. The people from the Flying Dragon Club all saw how Long Xiangtian actually went from Tao Realm 18 transformation Great Tao Golden Core to Celestial Master. All of them felt like they were dreaming, but after they woke up, they knew that they had joined the strongest person in the world. Their future was limitless. That's right, now that I have become a Celestial Master, even if the Emperor of Earth comes, I won't fear him at all. Long Xiangtian said proudly, now that I've comprehended the supreme secret technique, even Gu Chencha's Dragonless Heart Sutra is no longer a secret in my eyes. I'll help all of you increase your cultivation bases, allowing you to reach the High God realm in no time. Appear. Flying dragon in the sky, Swanee, Swanee. Long Xiangtian moved slightly and many balls of light appeared in his hand. Each of them was the size of a chicken, and each one contained a Swanee word. This word continued to resound. It was truly the sound of a group of dragons soaring into the sky. As the sound changed, one could feel a kind of overflowing passion and unparalleled power. Long Xiangtian's palm shook slightly and the light and the word landed in everyone's hands. Everyone received the word. Refine this Swanee word and you will have a God realm foundation. This Swanee word is a fundamental world of dust. Long Xiangtian said. This tiny world contains the purest of mental laws and origin power. It's also a medicinal pill. It's called the Divine Creation Pill, and I created it myself. One pill is enough to create a god. After you consume it, before you reach God realm, everything will be smooth sailing. You just need to follow the prescribed order. Right now, you are not God realm, but you have God realm strength. If this continues, it will be easier for you to work for me. Also, from now on, the Flying Dragon Club will change its name. It will not be called the Flying Dragon Club, but the Great Xiang Dynasty. I am the Great Xiang Dynasty's Emperor, the Flying Dragon Great Emperor. You will call me Your Majesty, understand? The Central Plains Divine Prefecture will be mine sooner or later. I will gather the boundless luck of the 9 heavens and 10 earths and give it to the dynasty. Yes, your subjects greet Your Majesty. At this time, everyone knelt down. To the people outside, they didn't seem to be doing anything. Zhou Wang, what do you think? Long Xiangtian looked at Gu Chencha's incarnation of Zhou Wang. What should I do next? Reporting to Your Majesty, Gu Chencha's incarnation of Zhou Wang said, we can go find the earthly sovereign to settle the score. No, we won't go find the earthly sovereign. Behind him is the Emperor of Heaven. I will go find Gu Tiansha and Gu Xiansha. Long Xiangtian smiled coldly. You are a God realm expert. I will teach you the secret of the Flying Dragon technique. Your battle strength will surpass that of a sage. Come, follow me to the grand sun of the heaven world. While speaking, Long Xiangtian directly grabbed Gu Chencha's Zhou Wang and flew up into the sky. A moment later, they saw a huge fireball. This fireball illuminated the heaven and earth and moved the sky. It shrouded everything inside. Even Heaven Longevity Realm experts couldn't get close. If they did, they would be refined. Even their divine senses wouldn't be able to escape. But at this moment, Long Xiangtian didn't care at all. With a wave of his hand, he entered the blazing sun of the heaven world. No flames could stop him. Gradually, he reached the center of the blazing sun of the heaven realm, where he saw a mass of white light and an altar. He pushed out with his palm. Who is it? 2 figures appeared on the altar. They were Gu Xiansha and Gu Tiansha. They attacked at the same time, their palms enveloping Long Xiangtian. Amazing! Long Xiangtian didn't dare to be careless. His fists were like dragons, and the image of a great stone wall appeared in front of him to block their attacks. Great stone wall? Who are you? Gu Tiansha retracted his attack and stood there, glaring at Long Xiangtian. He originally thought it was Gu Chensha, but now it was someone he didn't recognize. I am the founder of the Soaring Dragon Dynasty, Grand Emperor Soaring Dragon, Emperor of the Central Divine Prefecture. Yonko is a thing of the past. Next, the Soaring Dragon Dynasty will replace it. Emperor Heaven World will be destroyed. Everything will belong to me. Gu Tiansha, Gu Xiansha, you two are remnants of Yonko. I should kill you and refine you, but seeing that you still have some strength, why don't you join me and help me conquer the world? Soaring Dragon Dynasty? Grand Emperor Soaring Dragon? When did someone like that come out of nowhere? Gu Tiansha and Gu Xiansha exchanged glances. The two of them had their own plans. They wanted to refine the sun and moon and the prehistoric civilization's monarch system. They wanted to use their own light to replace the light of the heavenly world. If they succeeded, all life in the heavenly world would be bathed in their light, and they would be able to control them in the blink of an eye. Even Gu Chernsha couldn't stop them. But the sudden appearance of Long Xiangtian still shocked them. The fact that he could enter the sun of the heavenly world and exchange blows with them without falling into a disadvantageous position meant that he was one of the strongest powerhouses in the world. The world had already stabilized. Emperor Heaven represented the heavenly court, Gu Chensha represented the other major factions, Gu Xiansha and Gu Tiansha represented the other major factions. It was now a tripartite confrontation. The other factions weren't strong enough. But where did Long Xiangtian come from? Where did he come from? How could he be so strong? Even Gu Tiansha and Gu Xiansha couldn't figure it out. They scanned the central plains and found that the Yonko still reigned supreme. They hadn't been replaced by the Soaring Dragon Dynasty. Who are you? Gu Tiansha shot Crown Prince Gu Xiansha a look, then looked at Long Xiangtian. Long Xiangtian kept his cool. Gu Tiansha, you shouldn't have appeared in this world, but you did in the end. That is a variable that no one can predict. If you can appear, then why can't I? Long Xiangtian said. I am a variable that is stronger than you. None of you could have guessed that I would appear. Furthermore, I have already refined the Great Wall of Boulders. In a sense, I have already gained control of the Divine Continent. If you submit to me, you will definitely be able to refine the Celestial Arch. Eventually, you will even be able to refine the Heavenly Tao and Ancient Immortal Treading. What do you think? Variable? Crown Prince Gu Xiansha understood after a while. So that's how it is. There are layers of changes in the world, and no one can control the situation. That's why this freak was born. But it's also an opportunity for us. Greed flashed in his eyes. He knew that if he devoured Long Xiangtian, who'd popped out of nowhere, he could instantly ascend to an unimaginable level and completely refine the prehistoric civilization's worship and system. Currently reading Dragon Tally _ Chapter 894 Dragonless Mutation. Chapter 898. Attack. Both Gu Tiansha and Gu Xiansha felt that this was a great opportunity. They had to devour and refine Long Xiangtian. If they could refine this person, it wouldn't be a problem for them to deal with Gu Chernsha. The two exchanged glances and suddenly joined forces, launching a pincer attack from both sides. Heaven Refining Hand. When Gu Tiansha attacked, flames and a vortex appeared on his palm. There were countless runes and incantations in the vortex. Deep inside the runes, there seemed to be heaven and earth crying. This was an attack that Gu Tiansha had comprehended recently. He was refining the will of the heaven world. Once he used the Heaven Refining Hand, he would be able to refine the heaven world. The hand enveloped Long Xiangtian, preventing him from moving in any direction. Then, with the will of the heaven refining art, he fought Long Xiangtian head-on. At this time, Gu Xiansha also made his move. As he attacked, a curtain appeared above his head. On the curtain, there was the secret of life and death. Mysterious true art. Crown Prince Gu Xiansha had comprehended the martial path himself, and this was the technique that suited him the best. He had created it according to his own characteristic. When he attacked, a mysterious profound meaning appeared on the screen. The screen swept up and covered Dragon Xiangtian. Soaring Dragon Transformation. Facing the attacks of the two experts, Long Xiangtian wasn't afraid at all. He spread his palms apart and once again let out hissing sounds. Under the blazing sun of the heaven world, he used his mental cultivation technique to fight against Gu Xiansha and Gu Tiansha. Long Xiangtian, you're strong, but you're only as strong as any one of us. Now, you actually have the guts to sneak into the blazing sun of the heavenly realm and want to subdue us? Who gave you the confidence and guts? Gu Tiansha sneered. Aren't you here to deliver food to us? Gu Tiansha had already measured Long Xiangtian's strength during the battle. Long Xiangtian was indeed strong. He had a lot of fate energy and great potential, but it was too much to think that he could subdue Gu Xiansha and Gu Tiansha all by himself. After a while, Long Xiangtian had fallen into a disadvantageous position. However, he was still struggling. His expression didn't change. Under the immense pressure, Long Xiangtian's potential seemed to be stimulated once again. During the battle, he seemed to have absorbed a lot of knowledge, and all of this knowledge was absorbed into his Soaring Dragon Heart Sutra. It turned out that he had come here to spy on the secrets of these two people under great pressure, especially the innermost core of the god system. This was what Gu Chernsha needed. Back when Gu Chernsha had suppressed the system of the one god, he had acquired 99% of its secret. However, he hadn't been able to control the core essence of the system of the one god. Therefore, he had used the destiny of Dragon Ascendant Heaven to suppress the system of the one god, and through the fighting, he had acquired all of its secrets. This was his plot. Of course, Long Xiangtian didn't know about it. He still followed his own plan. The knowledge and secrets of the system of the one god were being revealed to him, and his cultivation base was growing more and more profound. How carefree! Long Xiangtian suddenly punched out. As soon as this fist was unleashed, a magnificent essay was laid out. It seemed to be the truth of the universe, an essay that opened the way. Dragonless Mental Sutra? Gu Tiansha and Gu Xiansha gasped in shock as they realized that this martial art was none other than Gu Chensha's Dragonless Mental Sutra. That's right, it's the Dragonless Heart Sutra. You probably didn't expect that I've already absorbed all of Gu Chensha's Dragonless Heart Sutra. I've even comprehended something of my own. After I suppress you all, Gu Chensha will be my next target. In this world, my Soaring Dragon Dynasty will be the only overlord, forever suppressing the world. Long Xiangtian was getting stronger and stronger, and his aura was like that of the Emperor of Heaven. Unexpectedly, he was able to deal with the attacks of Gu Tiansha and Gu Xiansha with ease. Stop! Gu Tiansha blurted. If we keep fighting like this, Long Xiangtian, it won't end well for either of us. Why don't we join forces? I think that no matter how strong you are, you can only fight against us. It's impossible for you to subdue us. Long Xiangtian stopped as well. He felt that he would be in danger if he kept fighting like this. He wanted to let the two of them know his strength first before thinking about how to improve. Deep in his heart, he hadn't given up on devouring the two of them. Join forces? How do we work together? Tell me the rules. Long Xiangtian asked. Although he stopped, he was still looking for a chance to attack. He was still trying to pry into the two's secret. Long Xiangtian, let's join forces and form an alliance to refine the heaven world first. Then, we'll divide the heaven world equally. Gu Tiansha said. No. I want to be the leader of the alliance, and the two of you will be the deputy leaders. Long Xiangtian said proudly. There's only one master in this world, and that's me. If you don't agree, then we'll fight to the death. I have absolute confidence that I can kill you in a prolonged battle. Arrogant. Crown Prince Gu Tiansha was really angry. He had seen many arrogant people, but it was rare to see someone as arrogant as Long Xiangtian. Long Xiangtian, do you really think that we can't suppress you? We are not willing to use our origin source. If we use our origin source, we can kill you. We are afraid that Gu Qinsha will reap the benefits. That's right. Long Xiangtian, don't be too arrogant. Gu Tiansha squinted his eyes. He felt that things weren't going to be easy. Long Xiangtian wouldn't feign civility. He was just pretending to form an alliance. He was trying to buy time. In a few more days, the two of them could refine the heaven world's sun and moon. At that time, their cultivation would skyrocket and the situation would change. If Long Xiangtian continued to cause trouble during the refining process, they wouldn't have the time and energy to refine the sun and moon. Moreover, the Emperor of Heaven and Gu Qinsha were eyeing them covetously. They could attack at any time. Gu Tiansha wasn't afraid of Long Xiangtian. He was annoyed that Long Xiangtian was so stubborn. This is my personality. Long Xiangtian coldly harumphed. I am the only overlord, the only great emperor, the Soaring Dragon Great Emperor. The Soaring Dragon dynasty will definitely replace the Heavenly Court. It doesn't matter if you accept it or not, I'll be here. I'll be in charge of everything in the future. You can only submit to me, there's no other choice. Even if Gu Qinsha and Heaven Emperor kneel down and beg me, I'll make them my subordinates. You don't have to kneel down now, that's your good fortune. Do you understand? This brat. Gu Tiansha was an extremely arrogant person, but when he heard Long Xiangtian's words, veins bulged on his forehead. He wanted to immediately slap this person who was even more arrogant than him to death. However, after experiencing so many setbacks, he had gradually become incredibly calm. Looking at this brat, he seemed to be looking at himself in the past. This Long Xiangtian is exactly the same as me in the past. However, back then, 1/10 of my source was stolen by Gu Tiansha, causing me to be unable to complete it. However, this Long Xiangtian source is sufficient. This Long Xiangtian has enough source. He immediately raised his voice. Long Xiangtian, you have abundant fate now. Everything you do will be smooth sailing. Even if you encounter danger, you will be able to turn it into a blessing. But have you ever thought that your birth was a variable? I'm also a variable. In the years to come, people like you and I will definitely appear. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have a strong destiny now. This is the best time to nurture your qi. If you continue to act recklessly, once you meet an opponent, you'll be unable to recover and lose 1,000 miles at a time. Is that so? Long Xiangtian didn't believe a single word of Gu Tiansha's. Gu Tiansha, you are indeed a variable like me. However, you are a loser. What right do you have to speak to me? No matter if you are a variable or not, you will have to submit to me. Even that Gu Qinsha had his giant stone wall refined by me and obtained all of his dragonless cultivation technique. You two pieces of trash that even Gu Qinsha can't do anything to, yet you dare to talk about such things in front of me? Aren't you making a fool of yourselves? I will give you an hour to consider. If you choose to serve me as your master, I will give you dignity. If you choose to fight, I will not return empty-handed. I will definitely fight a great battle and make you suffer. Only then will you know how powerful I am and choose to submit to me. An hour? 2 choices? Gu Tiansha and Gu Xiansha looked at each other and heaved a long sigh. We are considered to be overlords of the heavens and earth. To think that a random variable could force us to such a state. This is unbelievable. If it was Emperor Heaven and Gu Qinsha who forced us to this state, then it's fine. But you, Long Xiangtian, who came out of nowhere, is even more arrogant than Emperor Heaven and Gu Qinsha. This is intolerable. Since that's the case, let's not worry too much and suppress him directly. Alright, suppress him. Crown Prince Gu Xiansha was also filled with anger. If it wasn't for the big picture, he would have used his trump card to suppress and kill this arrogant Long Xiangtian. Even a clay figurine has a temper, let alone Crown Prince Gu Xianxia and Master of Sun and Moon Gu Tianxia. The two of them were completely enraged. Invincible Sun and Moon. Buzz, the two of them used their real trump card to seize the origin of Sun and Moon of Heaven Realm. The mighty origin of Sun and Moon gathered, containing the true meaning of Heaven Realm. Rumble. Under the influence of the will of Sun and Moon of Heaven Realm, Long Xiangtian saw the entire Heaven Realm shrinking rapidly, turning into a sphere and pressing towards him. This was equivalent to Crown Prince Gu Xianxia and Master of Sun and Moon Gu Tianxia grabbing the Heaven Realm and throwing it towards him. Chapter 899. The battle began. Long Xiangtian carried unparalleled luck and energy to fight against Crown Prince Gu Xianxia and Master of the Sun and Moon Gu Tianxia. This time, Gu Xianxia and Gu Tianxia's anger had reached the limit. They wanted to kill Long Xiangtian at all costs. Long Xiangtian was too arrogant. If they didn't kill him, he wouldn't let the two of them go. The two of them used the results of their recent research. They displayed a part of the Heaven Realm's power. Long Xiangtian watched as the Heaven Realm shrunk infinitely and flew in front of him before expanding infinitely until it completely contained him. A look of shock appeared on his face. He hadn't expected Gu Xianxia and Gu Tianxia to be so fierce. But even though he was shocked, he didn't feel scared. Instead, he turned his shock into excitement. He let out a loud roar and activated his entire body. Just like Gu Qianxia, he transformed into the soaring dragon mental cultivation method. His entire person was the mental cultivation method, and the mental cultivation method was his entire person. It expanded majestically and actually enveloped the Heaven Realm's energy. It changed in circles and wanted to refine everything. Break. Gu Xianxia and Gu Tianxia saw this and went all out. Gu Xuanxia's energy surged and burned above his head. He activated the prehistoric civilization's battleship and system. The battleship flew out from between his eyebrows and attacked Long Xiangtian. Pitter-patter. Long Xiangtian's soaring dragon heart technique was torn apart. His body trembled, recovering his original body. There were cracks everywhere, white holy light and flames burning everywhere. This was a result of being injured. Gu Xianxia and Gu Tianxia just took a few steps back. They weren't hurt. Seeing this, Gu Xianxia and Gu Tianxia nodded. They made up their minds. They had to kill this guy. Refining heaven formation. The two of them used the secret technique again. Two altars appeared out of nowhere. Each altar was huge. It was as if ancient existences had traveled through time and space to come here. Long Xiangtian, the Heaven Refining Array, the Heaven Melting Altar and the Heaven Transformation Altar were originally left for Gu Qianxia as trump cards. Our strongest means can only be used on you now. There wasn't the slightest emotion in Gu Tianxia's voice. If you weren't so overbearing, we wouldn't have used this trump card. If you want to blame someone for your death this time, you can only blame yourself for being too arrogant. In this world, no one can be truly invincible and truly fearless. So what if it was Gu Taxian? In the end, he was still entangled with the heavenly axiom, and there was the danger of both of them dying, let alone you. Your birth was actually a variable leaked from the battle between Gu Taxian and the heavenly axiom. Do you think you are invincible? Today, I'll show you what it means to be arrogant and doomed. The two ancient altars were called the Heaven Melting Altar and the Heaven Transforming Altar. These two altars were constantly expanding and transforming, forming a yin and yang extreme Tao. As the yin-yang extreme Tao changed, it completely trapped Long Xiangtian. Not bad, Yang Qi thought. Is this the trump card Gu Tianxia and Xianxia are using to deal with me? The might of the formation was indeed immense. If it caught him off guard, it could even injure me. Long Xiangtian's strength was far inferior to mine. If nothing unexpected happened, he would definitely be refined by the formation. However, with Long Xiangtian's fate energy, it would be an accident if nothing unexpected happened. Under normal circumstances, he would definitely be able to rise from the ashes. That's what the main character in a legendary novel would get. As Gu Chernsha looked around, he came to a realization. Drawing on his dragonless mental magic, he sent it into the ancient civilization's battleship and the system of the One God. In the depths of the system of the One God, two wills were fighting. One was the will essence of the system of the One God, and the other was the will of the heavenly world, which Gu Qinsha and Xiansha had used to suppress the system of the One God. Because of the will of the heavenly world, the system of the One God wouldn't cause any trouble. Of course, that was an opportunity for Gu Qinsha. His dragonless mental magic was now many times stronger than it had been when he had fought the system of the One God. It only took a moment for his dragonless mental magic to enter the core of the system of the One God, and begin to grasp its secrets. He didn't try to assimilate the system of the One God, because it was too powerful for him to do so in a hurry. However, he could still steal the core secrets of the system of the One God. With that knowledge, he would be able to create more of the system of the One God in the future. Moreover, he could make the puppets he made, such as the Common People's Commander, Common People's King, Common People's Marquis, Common People's God Generals, Common People's Officials, etc., to be dozens of times stronger. In the blink of an eye, he had acquired all of the secrets of the ancient civilization. The legacy of the ancient civilization was now in his grasp, and was fusing into his anima destiny mental magic. If it weren't for Long Xiangtian's destiny, it would have been very difficult for him to acquire it. And now, while Long Xiangtian was fighting with Gu Tiansha and Gu Xiansha, he had taken the opportunity to obtain the core secret. The dragonless mental magic shone brightly in his sea of consciousness. As he activated it, each character seemed to break down, evolve, gather, shrink, explode, and expand. In the end, it shrank, collapsed, and exploded again. It was a reenactment of the limits of reincarnation and the reproduction and destruction of civilizations. Each character of the dragonless mental magic represented the cycle of reincarnation, the birth and destruction of the universe, and the spread of civilization. As of this moment, Gu Chensha's dragonless mental magic surpassed the Son of Heaven's God-sealing art, and even the Grand Massacre God magic. It wasn't that the Grand Massacre God magic wasn't strong, but that Gu Chernsha had gained experience in the battle between the Heavenly Talisman Emperor and the Tao of Heaven. Furthermore, the Grand Massacre God magic wasn't the Heavenly Talisman Emperor's strongest ability. That being said, the dragonless breathing technique could be considered as the strongest mystical ability between the heavens and earth. Not even the abilities of the Emperor Heaven could compare to it. I've already obtained what I wanted. Now it's time to start harvesting. Gu Chernsha knew that his dragonless mental magic was truly invulnerable. All that was left was to spread it, develop it, and gain the recognition of the masses. His strength had increased greatly, and he could see Long Xiangtian's fate energy. Everything was in his control. At this moment, he knew that he could capture Long Xiangtian, Gu Xiansha, and Gu Tiansha. Especially since he had only devoured 1/10 of Gu Tiansha's origin energy. Now, he was going to devour this person completely. Not only that, Long Xiangtian's origin energy was somewhat similar to Gu Tiansha's. If he devoured it, he would definitely be able to reach the highest realm. Origin energy devour. Fate energy condense. At this moment, Gu Chernsha no longer cared about his own status. When the three of them were fighting fiercely, he suddenly appeared. In a miraculous manner, he struck out with his palms and fiercely pressed down on Long Xiangtian and Gu Chernsha. Bang! It was as though the entire universe had exploded from his attack. Long Xiangtian and Gu Tiansha were caught off guard and were hit by Gu Chensha's attack. Both of them let out earth-shattering screams. Gu Chensha slapped and grabbed. Instantly, a large amount of origin energy was pulled out of Long Xiangtian and Gu Tiansha's bodies. In that instant, Long Xiangtian and Gu Tiansha had lost a third of their origin cores. Last time, Gu Tiansha had only had a tenth of his essences taken away by Gu Chensha, and he had not been able to reach the highest level. He had always had a huge flaw. Now, each of them had had a third of their essences taken away, which was 3 times as much as before. Whether it was their cultivation bases, their karmic luck, or their karmic luck, they had all been weakened. Long Xiangtian retreated quickly. Only then did he see who the enemy was. "Zhou Wang, it's you. Who are you?" Long Xiangtian was exasperated. His fate energy had always been strong, and he had never been at a disadvantage. But now, he had lost 1/3 of his origin energy. He felt like he was going to lose his mind and tear everything in front of him apart. Me. Gu Chensha. Gu Chensha had completely returned to his original appearance. He looked at the 2 clumps of origin in his hands. The 2 clumps of origin kept emitting thunderous sounds. They wanted to fly out and return to their master's body, but Gu Chensha firmly suppressed them. They couldn't move at all. Impressive. Gu Chensha was actually a little disappointed. Just now, his original plan was to obtain at least half of the origin energy in one strike. But when he grabbed their bodies, he felt a strong backlash of fate. There was also a mysterious will that stopped him from killing them. This caused him to only be able to obtain 1/3 of the origin energy. However, 1/3 of the origin energy was enough for him to evolve again. Refine, devour, fuse, transform. With a thought from Gu Chensha, the Dragonless Heart Sutra seeped out and wrapped around the 2 balls of origin energy. Then, it was absorbed into the Heart Sutra. The Heart Sutra turned into a huge millstone that wanted to crush the origin energy into pieces. Gu Chensha, you actually stole 1/3 of my origin energy. Gu Tiansha was so angry that he was about to go crazy. Long Xiangtian, you idiot, you think you are invincible in this world, but you didn't expect that you are just a puppet and a chess piece that Gu Chensha used. He used you to deal with us, using your fate to weaken our fate, causing both of us to suffer losses. He suddenly came out to take advantage of us, and now we are going to die without a burial place. It is all because of you, you idiot. Gu Chensha, how dare you? Long Xiangtian also calmed down. He knew that he was in a life and death situation. Chapter 900. Gu Chensha wasn't polite at all. He wanted to humiliate Long Xiangtian and crush his confidence. He wanted to plant the seed of failure in his heart. Once this seed of failure was planted, Long Xiangtian's fate energy would be suppressed and his fate energy would be transferred to himself. For someone like Long Xiangtian, ever since he began his cultivation journey, everything had been smooth sailing. No matter what he encountered, he could always turn misfortune into fortune. Therefore, he believed that he would never fail and was truly an undefeatable person. However, once a person like him fails, he would be met with a calamity. From then on, his fate energy would no longer belong to him. For example, Gu Tiansha was the same. Ever since he began his cultivation journey, he was undefeatable. Sadly, after Gu Chensha stole 1/10 of his origin energy, he couldn't get back up again. He suffered setbacks everywhere he went and his cultivation went downhill. Originally, Long Xiangtian's fate energy was stronger than Gu Chensha's and he shouldn't have declined so quickly. However, he couldn't stop Gu Chensha from taking drastic measures. Gu Chensha helped Long Xiangtian fight against the King of Earth and taught him the Dragonless Heart Sutra, so that he could refine the Great Stone Wall. Theoretically speaking, Gu Chunsha was consuming Long Xiangtian's fate energy, adding fuel to the fire. When Long Xiangtian reached his peak, he wouldn't be able to continue. Therefore, his fate energy began to decline. Long Xiangtian, Gu Tiansha is right. You're truly too foolish. You think you can refine the great stone wall without me noticing? You've underestimated me, underestimated the ruler of the divine prefecture, and underestimated the heroes of the world. Gu Chunsha continued to taunt. Everything you have was given to you by me. If I didn't help you, you would have been suppressed by the King of Earth a long time ago. Do you think you can escape from the King of Earth? Do you think you're smart? In reality, you're just an idiot. Do you think you don't need any intelligence just because your fate energy is undefeatable? I really can't imagine how someone as stupid as you could have been born. Now that you've lost a third of your quintessence, your cultivation base has plummeted. Now I'm going to completely refine you into my divine art. Gu Chunsha you. When Long Xiangtian heard what Gu Chunsha said, he was so angry that he wanted to kill Gu Chunsha immediately. However, he knew that he couldn't do anything to Gu Chunsha. In fact, he could feel that he had lost a third of his origin. In other words, this third of his origin would never come back. Puff! Long Xiangtian was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was in a state of exhaustion. Gu Chunsha could see that Long Xiangtian's fate energy had been greatly reduced, and the fate energy had been transferred to him. His destiny increased abruptly, almost as if he had transcended all living things, breaking through the Tao and achieving nothingness. The Dragonless Heart Sutra received the transfer of this destiny, condensing into a clump, constantly changing, from words to the void, primal chaos, the universe, the galaxy, the mountains and rivers, the heavenly realm, the throne, and finally the hazy existence similar to the heavenly Tao. This was Gu Chunsha's strength. His Dragonless Heart Sutra could even absorb other people's fate energy. Long Xiangtian's strength had been greatly reduced, and his fate energy had been greatly reduced. In the future, it would be difficult for him to achieve anything great. However, Long Xiangtian still had 70% of his quintessence. Gu Chunsha couldn't let anyone else obtain this fate energy. Apart from this, Long Xiangtian's fate energy was too great. Even if it was going downhill, there was still a chance for him to make a comeback. If he had some sort of fortuitous encounter in the future, there was still a chance for him to make a comeback. Therefore, Gu Chunsha definitely wouldn't let Long Xiangtian make a comeback. Gu Chunsha, very good. You actually dared to scheme against me. I will never be able to live under the same sky as you in this lifetime. Long Xiangtian swore to the heavens, Gu Chunsha, now we should truly ally together. If we don't, I'm afraid we'll all die today. Long Xiangtian, if you knew this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? Gu Tiansha was filled with resentment towards Long Xiangtian. If it wasn't for you being so arrogant and wanting to suppress us, we wouldn't have fallen to such a state. You're just a short-sighted junior, thinking that you're invincible. Actually, you've always been under Gu Chunsha's control. You're even worse than us. Now you know how foolish you are. Let me tell you, I will never ally with you. You're too unreliable. Gu Chunsha, let's go. At this moment, Gu Chunsha's body moved and fused with the ancient profound sand. His entire body released a brilliant light and a wave of origin chi wrapped around his body. The heaven realms will surged crazily and was about to leave this place. He wasn't prepared to fight Gu Chunsha, nor was he prepared to join forces with Long Xiangtian. This was because he knew that a person like Long Xiangtian wasn't reliable at all. Perhaps Long Xiangtian would devour him during the battle, allowing him to recover a step further. Now, he gave up on Long Xiangtian and let him fight against Gu Chunsha. Moreover, he knew that even if he joined forces with Long Xiangtian, he wouldn't be able to do anything to Gu Chunsha. especially since Gu Churnsha had devoured a third of their source energy. When these source energy were gathered, it was enough to push Gu Churnsha to an extremely terrifying realm, the strongest expert in the world. Want to run? Gu Churnsha looked at the flickering light and knew that Gu Churnsha wanted to escape. However, he didn't chase or stop them because he was aiming at Long Xiang Tian. Long Xiang Tian saw Gu Churnsha running away, but he didn't dare to run because he knew that Gu Churnsha had his eyes on him. If he moved, Gu Churnsha would pounce on him and tear him to pieces. In the blink of an eye, Gu Churnsha were gone. Only Gu Churnsha and Long Xiang Tian were left in the blazing sun of the heaven realm. Long Xiang Tian, I'll give you a chance to join me. If you're sincere, I can spare your life. How about it? If you're stubborn, then don't blame me for being ruthless. I can only kill you and take your source energy. I'll make you destroy your true spirit. From now on, you won't be able to keep your soul. You'll disappear from the world and you won't be able to revive. Gu Churnsha said coldly. He was still giving Long Xiang Tian a chance. Gu Churnsha, I admit that I failed this time. You're indeed my biggest enemy. Even the Emperor of Heaven is afraid of you. However, if you think that you can kill me so easily, then you're dreaming. Although I failed once, I've understood some secret. I've seen my future and destiny. It's true that I lost my source energy, but my destiny hasn't run out yet. You can't kill me. Furthermore, you still haven't completely refined our essences. Before you do that, your power will drop. Furthermore, you've also absorbed a portion of my destiny. It will take a very long time for that destiny to completely fuse with you. That's why you're only putting on a strong front right now. You're just trying to scare me. Long Xiang Tian calmed down. It was as though this setback was a form of cultivation for him. It allowed him to see himself clearly, and he became even calmer. Furthermore, I have a chance to turn the situation around. Even though you made me refine the Great Rock Wall, I have already refined the Great Rock Wall into my doppelganger. What do you think will happen? Will it affect the Divine Continent? Really? Do you really think that you've refined the Great Rock Wall? As the saying goes, what's true is false. Gu Churnsha shook his head. If you don't believe me, why don't you try controlling the Great Rock Wall? As expected, Long Xiang Tian's expression changed. He couldn't control the Great Rock Wall anymore. However, his expression soon returned to normal. Gu Churnsha, you're amazing. You actually managed to confuse me. I thought that I had refined the Great Stone Wall, but in reality, I haven't completely refined it. I was completely bewitched by you. However, you've forgotten one thing. If I submit to the Sky Emperor now, the Sky Emperor will immediately sense it and help me escape from the threat. He might even borrow my power to invade the Great Stone Wall. At that time, will you be able to control the situation? You've grasped the crux of the matter. You should know how powerful the Emperor of Heaven is, and how arrogant your previous thoughts were. Gu Churnsha didn't care. He was still observing Long Xiang Tian's fate energy. It was true that Long Xiang Tian's fate energy hadn't run out yet. If he forcefully attacked, there might be an unpredictable change. However, he wasn't afraid of it. He wanted to see what the change was. I've indeed comprehended it. It won't happen again, but my cultivation has improved because of it. Long Xiang Tian wanted to say how he could escape from Gu Churnsha's clutches. However, before he could finish speaking, Gu Churnsha attacked. The moment Gu Churnsha attacked, a power seemed to descend from the blazing sun in the heaven realm, causing the entire space to collapse. The moment the space collapsed, a power that could destroy all living things surged out and hit Long Xiang Tian. What? Long Xiang Tian spat out another mouthful of blood. His blood wasn't the blood of a normal person. It was a type of life essence that was scattered. This meant that he couldn't control the life essence in his body. Gu Churnsha, how dare you sneak attack me? Long Xiang Tian roared. Sneak attack? Today, I want to see what kind of change your fate energy can create. How can you turn calamities into blessings? Gu Chensha unleashed his dragonless heart magic, which was capable of countless transformations. It flickered incessantly as Dragon Xiangtian was completely enveloped by the dragonless heart magic. If nothing unexpected happened, Long Xiangtian wouldn't be able to escape. However, something unexpected happened. In the depths of the blazing sun in the heavenly world, it was as though some kind of energy was triggered. A pure energy seeped into Long Xiangtian's body. Then, the blazing sun in the heavenly world disappeared completely. The entire sun disappeared from the sky just like that. The power of the sun shrunk, condensed and disappeared into Long Xiangtian's body. At this moment, everyone in the heaven world looked up at the sky. The sky darkened because the eternal sun had disappeared. From then on, the heaven world was filled with darkness. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.